This is your news bulletin from Power 102 Digital.
It is Monday, the 25th of November, 2024. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. This is news to 6 a.m. on News Power Digital. The United National Congress is rejecting the pay hike recommended by the Salaries Review Commission in its most recent report, although the opposition leader, Kamala Persad-Bissessar, and her MPs stand to benefit from the proposed salary increases for politicians. Two opposition MPs are demanding Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley and Finance Minister Colin Imber break their silence on government's position on the SRC's report. Making their positions clear yesterday, Princestown MP Barry Padirath and Couva South MP Ragoobarsingh Indarsingh shunned the proposed pay hike, especially for Dr. Rowley. The SRC has recommended the salaries of the Prime Minister, the President, the Leader of the Opposition, and the Chief Justice, among other public officials, be increased. The Prime Minister's salary is currently $59,680, which was set in 2013, which would rise in two layers, increasing from October 1st, 2020 to September 30th, 2023 to $80,000, then from October 1st, 2023 onward to $87,847. The report laid in Parliament on November 15th also recommended increases for the President, the Chief Justice, the Chief Secretary of the Tobago House of Assembly, the Opposition Leader, MPs, members of the Judiciary, Police Commissioner, and other senior public officials. Ministry of Energy and Energy Industries, Stuart Young, says the government has been engaged with both the Democrats and the Republicans on its attempts to secure TNT's Dragon deal with Venezuela. He made the revelation while addressing the Chaguanas Chamber of Industry and Commerce annual Christmas dinner and awards function at Passage to Asia restaurant in Chaguanas. Young said this was being done through TNT's continued engagement with parties in Washington. A domestic violence victim has filed a constitutional claim against the state, asserting the failures of the police and prosecutors led to the dismissal of assault charges against her former partner, infringing her fundamental rights. The constitutional claim was filed in September by attorneys Lee Berry, SC, Christy Mohan, and Ali Motilal, and has been assigned to Justice Carol Gobin and will be heard on December 9th. The assault case, where the police prosecutor, the complainant, failed to attend multiple court hearings. The prosecutor at the Sangre Grande Magistrates Court also allegedly failed to comply with court directions, resulting in the charge against the victim's ex-fiancé being dismissed on May 1st. The victim, whose name has not been disclosed for her protection, has reported her ex-boyfriend for a violent attack witnessed by her child, niece, and mother. The Ministry of Rural Development and Local Government said it's mobilized its resources and teams to support communities affected by heavy rainfall, thunderstorms, and flash flooding associated with the passage of a low-level trough this weekend. In a media release on November 24th, the ministry said the bad weather caused significant street flooding, flash flooding, fallen trees, and debris going into roadways, particularly in the northern Trinidad. It said although floodwaters have mostly subsided, numerous landslides have been reported, causing road blockages, property damage in areas including Upper La Puerta, La Sabre Road, and Long Circular Road in Port of Spain. The University of the West Indies group of university teachers wants protest action will continue at UWC Augustine campus until salary negotiations are satisfactorily settled. President Dr. Indira Rampersad reported, they told Guardian Media, the union is yet to hear something official from the government. Recently, WIGAP intensified its protest, claiming its members continue to face challenges by living on 2014 salaries amidst rising inflation and increased cost of living. In sporting news, the West Indies continue to hold its advantage at the stumps on day 3 of the opening test against Bangladesh at the Sir Vivian Richards Stadium. The visitors closed the day on 269 for 9 in their first innings reply of 450 for 9 declared by the hosts. Bad luck put an end to the day's play until the visitors limping at the close 269 for 9, trailing by 181 runs. Alzari Joseph is the pick of the bowlers so far with 3 for 69, while Jaden Seals and Justin Graves have 2 wickets each. Play resumes at 10 a.m. today. And finally, richer countries have promised to raise their funding to help poorer countries fight climate change to a record $300 billion per year. The deal, however, has come under sharp criticism from the developing world. It took place at the UN Climate Summit COP29 in Azerbaijan, which ran 23 hours late and almost collapsed. The agreement falls short of the $1.3 trillion developing countries were pushing for. After 2 weeks and often bitter negotiations in the Azerbaijan capital, Baku, poorer nations did not stand in the way of the deal. And that is news to 6 a.m. right here on News Power Digital. We have major news coming your way at 7 a.m. Good morning.
Up to date and credible. Power 102 Digital.
Good Monday morning, neighbors. It is 6 minutes after the hour of 6 o'clock. Thank you so much for joining us on the Power Breakfast Show on Power 102 Digital. Thank you so much. Of course, full casting this morning. We just heard from Dr. Paul Richards. We'll hear from Wendell, Stephen, Richard, Ragoobarsingh. We got Ruben and Shane in the mix. Of course, my name is Steve Khan. 26 degrees at Piarco and 26 at Crown Point in a beautiful Sister Isle of Tobago. So good morning to you all. Traffic-wise, I have nothing ready to tell you about. Just a little volume after Couva heading towards Shirgonis. And after that, it's just some volume. Good morning to you, Paul. What's happening?
Morning, Steve. Morning, everyone. Good Monday morning. Hope you're dry where you are. I know a lot of people suffered through flooding over the weekend, so I hope people are getting their places cleaned up.
Yeah, that was a lot of water.
Yep. Good morning to TN Tech.
Yeah.
I hope my appliances are still okay.
Yeah. Good morning to the Met Services. Good morning to you all.
Wendell's not on this morning. I didn't see a clear call Wendell's name.
I did call his name. I don't know where he is. He's probably seen about his birds and his turtles and his plants. That's what he's doing. But I tell you, Saturday I was at one of our transmitter sites, which is up in the mountain. And let me tell you, that wind, when they say the wind sounds like a train, they know what they're talking about. That wind was it was like a train.
And a lot of rain over the weekend, a lot of rain and a lot of flash flooding. I don't know, I transferred a video. I'm trying to put up a couple of videos I edited this morning to show how I experienced over the weekend. I'm going to get it in a short while.
Yeah.
For some reason, the way transfer is not working this morning.
It's not? Yeah, but that rain on Saturday. I hope everybody is okay. And especially in the East-West. I mean, the whole country got it, but the East-West corridor really got it. Diego Martin. The river came on and covered the highway.
Yeah, the Diego Martin River burst its banks and covered that portion of the highway. I think what you call that the portion going into Diego Martin.
Okay.
And Maraval by Royal Palm there was literally underwater. Literally
that was there he is.
Morning.
That's not a good look.
Morning, gentlemen.
Morning, Wendell.
I
But
didn't
yeah, by Maraval, by shops of Maraval, and whoa, that was like a lake. That was like a lake. I saw some pictures of rocks by some cars. I don't know how they getting out of that. But
I visited someone in that area, and their compound was mud.
Yeah.
Good morning, Steve. Morning, Paul. Morning, Richard. Morning, Trinidad and Tobago. And morning, listeners and viewers.
Yeah, morning, buddy. How was your weekend?
Was pretty all right. I mean, I didn't do much because I needed to rest. I mean, I worked at Rumbox for the entire week and weekend. And I needed to rest because tonight we have 3 matches at the Queen's Park Oval. 3 matches, one after the next. I don't know how my body is going to sustain it, but I've been training for it. Yeah. But
there's an ambulance on standby.
Yeah. Other than that, I had a pretty quiet. Yesterday was terrible in terms of weather. It was rain, stop, rain, stop, rain, stop. was when for the entire day.
Oh, look, David, we just sent me a video of Diego Martin. Let me do the Whoa! Holy Maloney.
Apparently, it was really bad in some areas.
No, but it was raining in Diego Martin from early o'clock, huh? Because I was at the transmitter site and we were doing some work up there. And for one of our stations. And it was blazing hot sun. And then it was pouring. I was hearing the thunder out in the west, which would be Diego Martin and so on. And then we got the rain. I said, whoa. And we were in the clouds. And it was cold.
Yeah.
It was cold. You know me, I go everywhere in a shorts and a t-shirt. So I was leaving it just before 4 o'clock. Jumped in the car and it said 18 degrees. I said, whoa, no wonder it was cold.
Yeah, it was going from hot sun to pouring rain a lot yesterday.
Yeah. Oh, David, let me send this one for Paul.
Please don't not editing anything else this morning. This is
it's flooding in Diego Martin.
Saddle Road area, the lower Saddle Road area.
That is Royal Palm.
Yes.
Royal Palm Lake.
It was really bad in that area. Actually, I had breakfast at Adam's Bakery yesterday, which is right in that area.
This is a street in Diego Martin. Imagine this is in front of your house.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, it was really, really bad.
Yeah, it was.
And I mean, you can't blame this on clogged drains. This is something different.
No, that was heavy rain.
This is heavy rain, and this is
cover the tires.
Wow, look at that!
Imagine for a second that this is in front of your house, and you parked your car in front of your house, and that's what you're looking out and seeing. I mean, I would be heartbroken because
I wonder sometimes about people and the proactivity, because once you look up in that sky and you see that blackness up in the northern hills, bricks, and it was dark in the northern hills, dark.
And I mean, the Met Office failed in warning people about this, that we're going to get this amount of rain.
Well, the Met Office did have an adverse weather alert out there, Steve. So I think that's a fair statement.
Where you say adverse weather alert, it had none.
Okay.
There was no adverse weather alert.
If it had one, Steve would have shared, and Steve didn't share any.
Yeah.
Steve is weather, planes, and dogs.
Yeah, I'm in a weather group that has some people at the Met Office and other folks, even out of Trinidad too. And they're saying that the Met Office was sleeping.
Yeah, David, where's you're right. When you looked up in the northern range, it was black. I have not seen clouds like that. And there was a lightning strike on Saturday that knocked out electricity temporarily in St. James, because I was at Rumbox Saturday.
Well, not only St. James, electricity by me went on Saturday from in the afternoon till about 7 in the evening.
Yeah,
and then came back and went. It kept going and coming. Thanks to you, check out all my appliances still alive.
Sure.
You don't have a breakomatic on your appliances?
That do help sometimes.
I have that in everything.
Going on and coming off like that,
Yeah, yesterday too. I was also in St. James briefly, because I had someone doing something for me, and the electricity went for a while also again. So it was affected. A lot of things were affected by the bad weather, apparently.
Well, could you imagine this is Trinidad?
Yeah.
That is like, I'm going to stop this practice of driving through water like that. Right?
Yeah, I don't know why people take that chance, but that looking like a
4x4.
That looking like a 4x4 vehicle there.
Yeah. And like a Jeep.
Yeah.
That's not a Jeep. That white car isn't a Jeep there.
No, that's a Tita. Yeah, I wasn't going through water that high. I was not. And folks that vehicles like in Diego Martin, I saw that we showed just now. If I were you, I would get your transmission fluid drained. Because one time I went through flood and it damaged my transmission eventually. And so get it drained.
But there was rain up and down the islands too, because it affected cricket a bit too. West Indies playing Bangladesh right now, and I know that they had a little stoppage there too. Congratulations to Justin Grace making his maiden Test century. I mean, he had played cricket and didn't play cricket for quite a few years, and they recalled him, and he's come back with a bang.
Look at that debris. You trying to tell me that's natural? All those plastic bottles? We just litter through plastic bottles, food containers, the main culprits. I don't know where this is. That must be up there going watching the mountains. We need to keep this place clean.
That's not going to happen.
Wendell,
that's a Jeep going there.
Yeah, there's a Wrangler.
A lot of rain.
Yeah. Kudos to the Diego Martin Regional Corporation on Saturday. They said, come and get your sandbags. I'm sure a lot of people went seeing how the weather was yesterday. Because it poured yesterday evening after 4 o'clock in Barataria. Let me tell you, it poured.
As I said, I don't think we have had long breaks without rain this entire weekend. It just every now and then it'll just come down in torrents. And it looks like it's going to do the same again today.
And let's see what the weather update. Let's see what the Met Office is saying for today. Have they updated their weather? They said generally sunny and breezy with the likelihood of partly cloudy spells and showers over a few areas. There's a low 30% chance of isolated thunderstorm activity. Nighttime will be generally settled despite isolated showers. Okay. Generally sunny and breezy. I saw that rain on Saturday up in the hill. That rain was sideways and big and stinging.
True. There's always gets so,
and stinging.
It is normally break down them thing
Good morning to those people. I know they're suffering. You have a lot of cleanup to do today.
Plenty cleaning up to do.
A lot of cleanup. I don't know how those food places are going to fare in Royal Palm, because I mean they were basically under 2 feet of water in some instances. That is a cleanup that I would not wish on my worst enemy, and those are food places, which means they have to really scour those places, because that water is not clean water.
No, it's not.
Rats, cockroaches, and the like come past.
Yes, it's filled. I don't know if I have had the experience of cleaning up after flood. Went to help someone in the Maraval area too. And the smell of that mud. Oh.
Yeah. But last week, Sunday, when we had that massive rain and the Barataria area was flooded from the roundabout to the priority bus route. Now, they swept everything to the side of the road, but a week after, and all the debris is still there, All the bamboo and this and that, piece of wood and tree trunks, all that's still there. That's the video I was going to send you, Paul.
A lot.
It's going to have a lot of dusty areas after too.
Oh yeah.
Paul, but what was that work on the bus route there by you? What really going on? That's a mess yesterday, man. I don't know if the weather affected them.
It's a mess this morning because this is Monday morning, and one would have imagined they'd have finished it. They've been working on that a week and a half, almost 2 weeks now. They're changing one of the huge 36-inch pipes. That developed a leak, and those pipes are the pipes that run east to west that carry most of the water across the north part of the country. So it's taking a while, but this morning is going to be a disaster on that bus route because one lane is closed off and the other lane is used for 2 lanes.
Yeah, but they also doing it and stop. It's almost like if they're redoing it sometimes. I thought they had finished when they had first stopped.
I thought they'd finished it before yesterday. I mean, I
Yeah,
thought they finished yesterday because they closed up shop. All the equipment was moved.
yeah.
Only to hear the noise again early this morning.
Wow.
Oh, jeez.
So it's going to be traffic like hell on that bus route this morning, heading into Port of Spain. So, and is the into Port of Spain lane that's closed off?
Yes, the Port of Spain lane is
So
closed.
it is going to be a disaster,
Yeah.
traffic-wise. So gird your loins.
Look at all that debris. Look at all that debris. And of course, also, I think it was yesterday, well, over the weekend. Good morning to the Santa Cruz police station. I don't know, you know.
Well, see, we're finally hearing a little more from the Commissioner of Police.
Yeah,
Apparently,
what did she say?
three of the officers who are, three officers, I should say, are to be dealt disciplinary actions for the cases collapsing. The prosecutors apparently who didn't end up in the court. I saw something yesterday that really, let me see if I could find it. Now that it surprised me, to be very honest, because I don't know. I think the police service is one of the most poorly managed entities
Yeah. I
in
mean,
the Caribbean.
that's why I said good morning to Santa Cruz police station this morning.
In 2019, this is according to a Guardian report, there were 1,800 cases where police officers failed to attend court. Right? 1 year. The police commissioner is now on record as saying that they're going to initiate disciplinary action against the officers who may have, through their recalcitrance, contributed to the collapse of those cases.
I want to see that.
That is just a public a response to the public outcry. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Okay. They didn't give any timelines, so me holding my breath. I think she's speaking because, well, the public outcry is too loud.
Yeah.
For her to stay silent. So
Unbelievable.
And now a domestic violence victim has filed a constitutional claim against the state, asserting the failure by police and prosecutors, which led to the dismissal of assault charges against a former partner. Now, a couple weeks ago, or months ago, the state lost a constitutional motion, a similar constitutional motion, filed by a mother because her daughter was killed because of the same failures.
Yes, so precedent has been set.
Right? So you'll see more and more of these cases because our constitution gives you a fundamental right to life, you know.
Yeah.
And your family to the enjoyment of your life. So when the state, through repeated failures, end up with somebody dead, the state is going to be held accountable. You understand? It is just, I mean, as I said just now, I mean, clearly one of the most poorly managed entities in the country is the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. And it continues in that realm.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the two officers that went and tried to extort money from someone.
You want to be more specific, Steve?
Yeah, you have to use the word allegedly too.
Allegedly. Well, it's in the news.
Well, it says two Northeastern Division police officers are suspects in an armed robbery that happened in Santa Cruz. But the other story is Inspector Daniel of the Northeastern Division arrested two police officers from Santa Cruz Station for extorting Spanish. Well, this thing is poorly written, though. Extorting Spanish for $1,000 each last night. A 17,000 PC who was also once an acting corporal from community policing, and another PC, both they named them, and I'm not going to name them. They demanded money from the Spanish, who then went to report it, and Inspector Daniel was on duty as the duty inspector last night and set up a sting operation. The Spanish gave the police officers marked notes, and when they reached back to the station, the officers were searched and the note was found on them. So that's one of the stories that came out. concerning that. It came out in 3 different iterations yesterday.
There's a reason I asked you to be more specific, because when you're talking about police corruption, you have to be really specific because there's so damn much of it.
Yeah.
If I don't know who can you trust?
But
Who can you trust?
these stories are, as I say,
And they're coming fast and furious. Let's say for this month already. It's November, but this is what the 3rd story.
You need to be more specific. The ones that we're hearing about.
Correct.
Okay?
Let me be more specific.
Please.
The ones that we're hearing about. You're so right, Paul.
Okay. Don't think that the ones that you're hearing about that coming to the public because somebody reporting them is all that happening. Okay. We've said it over and over. Police corruption, until they clean up the police service, they will make no progress.
Yep.
And what Wendell says all the time?
20 years.
Let me cue Wendell in. What does Wendell say all the time?
It's getting worse and worse.
If you don't fix the police service, you cannot fix this country. That's a fact.
Followed closely by Customs and Excise and Port of Port-of-Spain.
I'm going to have a story about that back.
In a close second. Okay. In a close second. The United National Congress is rejecting the pay hike being recommended by the SRC in its recent report.
Politics 101, right?
No, I show that if those recommendations are approved, nobody picking up no placard.
Exactly. But I'm getting the feeling now more than ever that it will be approved. You understand?
Call me after the show.
The way the stories are coming out, because
Call
they
me
gave
after
us
the show.
Huh?
Call me after the show.
All right. They made they put out a comprehensive list of everybody almost yesterday in yesterday's paper.
And a lot of that, Wendell, is erroneous.
Okay.
Okay.
A lot of what they put out?
Okay.
Well, you had to explain that one to me.
Call me
I didn't go through it in detail, but I saw where
after the show.
I gathered in some instances they name one person, but it encompasses others in that grouping. So when you think one person is getting all that money, I think it's part of a group. That's how I read the story.
It is the article and the headline are designed to sell papers. And what people wouldn't read is they said if the recommendations are approved or accepted by the cabinet and the government, the supposed $150 million in increases and back pay is what would have been accrued. But you need to go down in the details and see how much of it is accurate and how much of it is assumptions they're making. Okay. A lot of it is assumptions. A lot of it is assumptions. But you know, our media, and of course, the particular media house in question is not a stranger to. How do I put this delicately?
Talking about the one that was coined the jam at St. Vincent Street.
It could be that one. Okay, it's not a stranger to inaccuracies being reported, right? I see they offload one of their purveyors of inaccuracy to another media house recently.
Yes. Well, there's another article in today's Guardian also too. SRC proposed salary increases will burden taxpayers, agitate public further, says economists. And guess who the economists are? Guess who the economist is?
Oh God, the usual suspects.
I swear she needs to go back into politics sometimes, you know. You know she was a politician, right?
And that's why we will rely on the expertise and the objectivity of Dr. Terence Farrell.
It's for true. So true.
Okay?
Yes.
Because a lot of them have on different sides have their agendas. Clear agendas.
But you think about it, though. Let me be brutally honest here. I have never heard an economist be pro PNM. I may have missed one.
You've missed one. I may have missed one.
I may have missed one, but I've never heard
one in a teacher election declared his allegiance, and I heard it on the broadcast already.
Okay. But I've never seen any of them gone that direction. I've seen them gone in the opposite direction.
Yes.
You understand? And thank God for people like Dr. Terence Farrell, who clearly has no agenda and said it like as it is.
And then the one the other day who tells us the government waited till the 1st of January to start all the initiatives.
Yeah, well, that agenda.
Remember that one?
Yeah, no stranger.
The government will be back against the war with crime, but their theory is that the government will wait until the January 1st, 2025, because that's when everybody start everything. I mean, really. And
they always run to people like Dr. Indira Sajiwan.
Dr. Sajiwan is an economist.
That's how they describe her, yeah.
No, Dr. Sajiwan is an economist. The other one is not the same.
Yeah.
Dr. Sajiwan is an economist.
But Dr. Sajiwan was also a politician, you know.
She was?
What are you talking about, Paul Richards? Yeah. You contested a seat for the opposition? For the UNCRD?
Wendell. Let me turn up the volume of my sarcasm just now. Right, it didn't work that time. She was?
Yes.
Is that better?
Well, behave.
Yes. A little bit. It was on low, sorry.
I don't forget these things, you know.
Watch me. Everybody is waiting outside the trough.
Oh, yes.
All right?
Oh, yes.
Everybody waiting outside the trough. Shall we open the phones, gentlemen?
Yes, let's open the lines.
Gentlemen.
Oh, look at this article, Oli. Listen to the story. Buying US dollars from visiting family may violate TNT exchange control laws. After that horse pulled and ran all around the stadium.
I don't know. I wasn't even going to read that. I wasn't even going to read that foolishness. Good morning, Ragoobarsingh.
Hi, good morning, guys. Good morning to our listeners and viewers.
Richard, you knew that?
One.
That buying money, US dollars from your family, when your sister come down and she sell you the US dollars, you know that you're violating TNT exchange laws?
No.
Well, you know now, right?
I think everybody has done
it. Read the article properly. They said could be.
They say if you buy US currency from a relative visiting TNT, you may be in breach of the Exchange Control Act.
Maybe is not is.
Hold on. This is because there must be authorization from the central bank to do so.
That is just an example. If that is true, it's an example of silly, stupid laws. And silly, stupid laws will always be broken because they are silly and stupid.
But I think the law is in place, to be fair, and when you look at the overall remit of the law, to ensure that the authorization to transact in US is reposed in entities that are authorized by the central bank, like the banks,
right?
The brokers, the cambios, etc. And I don't think the law expects that if Wendell have 300 US and Paul want to buy it, that Paul is not going to buy it. But I think in the absence of the law, somebody could set up a cambio-like operation and be transacting and selling and buying US. I think that's what the law is intended to prevent.
So that's the explanation that Nigel Stoddard gave. He said the legislation was clear with regards to a person who does not have an authorized license from the central bank for purchasing and selling foreign exchange.
So I think that's what it was.
You really should have a license, Richard, before you sell to someone. That's what they say.
As a business.
As I said, that has to be as a business.
As a business.
I get it that businesses, especially in terms of exchange of currency, should be regulated, but you will always have that informal market where people are buying. You have $1,000 to sell. Okay.
And here's what's funny about that. You walk into a lot of supermarkets and establishments, particularly in Central along the East-West corridor, and you see on a big sign, buying US 7.33, don't you?
I heard an
Never
other
respect
day.
God.
Right.
I
Let's
heard
grab
an
this call,
other
gentlemen.
day.
Well, I don't interpret it as buying. I interpret it as exchange. That if you have US, this
Hey,
is the
don't try to be
privilege.
clever, you attorney at law. Don't
No,
try to
that's
be
how I
clever.
interpret it. Because sometimes I go to places, for example, sometimes I've had US, and I would, let's say, at 20 US, and I've gone into a place and I'm buying something, and I say, by the way, do you accept US? And there's no signage
Mm-hmm.
or anything, and they say yes, but we give it 7 to 1, and I say, okay, it's 20. The item is 120, so you have
That
20.
has happened. That has happened.
That's what I'm
Let's
saying.
grab
So there's
this,
some
this
places
call, brother.
some places will take US without advertising. They take US.
Mm-hmm.
Good morning, caller.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
Morning.
I for the people and them who quotes, who believe I am anti-police and I hate the police. My distrust of I'm hoping that they're realizing that my distrust of PTPS is validated, as you all rightly said, daily. Daily it's validated, my distrust of the police. So I hope they recognize that I am not anti-police. I am anti the corrupt tyrannical police, if there's such a word. Tyrant police officers.
Tyrannical. The word is tyrannical.
Yes, that is what I'm anti. Right?
Mm-hmm.
The ones that would see police doing stuff and flip it and spin it and do all kind of things to justify, well, maybe it's this and maybe it's that, like Superintendent Alexander used to do. All right? So, and we've seen them getting charged daily, and I have to commend the police for doing the right thing too, which is charging them. But we're seeing the police also not prosecuting them as well too. So it's a catch-22 situation. Okay? Have a good morning, gentlemen.
All right, thank you. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Steve.
Morning.
Good morning to Dr. Paul. Good morning, Wendell. Good morning to Richard.
Good morning, Ms. Dabity.
You know what? Sometimes what irritates me when there was so much rain over the weekend. I mean, rain for so. If Mr. Every had drains cleaned with a backhoe 20 feet deep, that can hold sufficient water, and then it will spill over into the road. Even though all of that is happening, in some areas they want the authorities to come and clean it one time, and the water hasn't run off as yet. But they want the water, they want the thing clean, they want it now, and they're getting angry. And when you watch in the Philippines and other countries when there's flooding, I never hear them blaming anybody.
Well, Spain did.
And Spain, and another part of Spain got flooded again. So the changes in the weather pattern have a lot to do with it. You know what I mean? And that part, and on Saturday, I woke up with nice sunlight, so I was able to wash and hang out clothes. I was so happy to hang out clothes on the line.
And then all of a sudden...
Yeah! At least when I was doing my baking, I find the place just got dark. And I said,
quickly,
let me take out my clothes. I had lines of clothes. I was so happy to get hot sun.
You know what was strange? Ms. W, what was strange about the rain this weekend? It was either Friday or Saturday. It came down heavy, but it came down in a direction that it doesn't usually come.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like coming
from west to east.
Usually that's how it goes. No,
it comes from east to west. But it came from west this time.
No, but what was different? It came from south to north.
Mm-hmm.
So the rain was actually coming the south to northerly direction and heavy. So all of a sudden, your porches and galleries were suddenly flooded, especially for people who play south.
Yes. Okay. Like you.
Which has never happened before, and it was very unusual.
Because some parts of my area where I leave my windows open all the time, I was like, what? You ain't blowing in from that area, which never really happens. So I had to wash fast and clean up, So that was a nice bit of rain, heavy, yes, but it was. I was sorry for those who got flooded out. Yep. So I hope everything is cleaned up today. Right. Have a good day.
Thank you. All the best there. Good morning. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning to the breakfast crew.
Morning, Tinto. How you doing?
Hi, Tinto.
Yeah, I would like to share some good news. We have a young man from Trinidad and Tobago. He's 51 years old. He is a professor of American politics. His name is Christian Hosa. So I want to say kudos to you, Christian, and the achievement. Thank you.
Is he from up St. Joseph by you there, Tinto?
No, he's visiting now. He's visiting his family in the east right now. He's going back something in December.
All right. Okay, cool.
All right. Thanks, Anthony. Good morning.
Carnival was also launched over the weekend at the Savannah. The launch of 2025 Carnival took place at the Queen's Park Savannah on Saturday. Saturday? Yes, Saturday.
Yeah. Yes. Morning, caller.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Mr. Richard, Mr. Steve, Mr. Richard.
Morning.
Wendell.
Morning.
Yeah,
Mr. Grant.
Yeah, Mr. Khan. Wendell.
Sir.
I just want to find out, you get anything about Kent yet, boy?
Yes, he is a lot better and recovering at hospital.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've been in touch with his niece almost on a daily basis.
Right, thank you.
Yeah.
And listen, this Mr. Sijawan, Mr. Richard, she went up for you and sister thing was on the panel and all kind of thing, you know. It surprised me to know you know that.
I had my sarcasm on low side, turn it up after.
Yes.
Yeah, I know that. And listen, I'm watching out England right now. Water last night in England,
in Wales.
Water for so people hold the little bucket trying to throw it over back into the little river there. So this water there is something real all over the world. I come home and meet my host, the gallery wet Saturday. The rain blow from west to east inside the gallery I mean. You understand? So we have to be thankful who ain't get flood out. And they make it sound across because I live up in Malabar here. The main road flooding over. Yeah. Anyhow, you all have a nice day and keep everything cool with the grace of God.
All right, Mr. Grant, take care.
Bye, brother.
Yeah.
All right.
Kent is a lot better, recovering in hospital.
That's great news.
Yeah. They found
also, let me let the folks know that the Cabo Star sailing from Port of Spain and from Scarborough is cancelled for today. All right, that's Cabo Star. Sailing is cancelled.
I just realized that I really didn't report on Ken Taylor that he was in fact found outside
on
of a
Friday,
hospital, wet and rain, soaking and cold. But he has been recovering at hospital since, and so he's going. He's still in danger, but recovering nonetheless at the hospital. All right.
Did you all see the medical emergency TD Drakes suffered during a live stream?
Yeah.
I didn't see it, but I saw posts about it this morning about Press TD Jakes. He is an episode live on live.
Yeah.
TD Jakes, you said?
Unconfirmed. It looked like some sort of mini stroke or something.
Oh
no, I didn't see that. I didn't know anything like that happened.
Yeah, he was talking and then
he started convulsing on stage.
Yeah. And they had to rush on and hold him up from for the stage and rushed to hospital. Richard, do you have newspapers?
Of course I do, Paul. Would you like me to read them?
I'm going to use this.
Hold them there and keep them for yourself.
I want to try to head out, be on the road and be in town by 8 o'clock. So I'm going to use this opportunity to just go and get myself organized. But there's just one other story I'd like to highlight before I go, and that is the Downtown Owners and Merchants Association has issued a public plea to the Ministry of National Security and the Office of the Commissioner of Police, seeking the immediate return of 35 Port of Spain city police officers who were transferred to an undisclosed location in South Trinidad. Now, I heard about this, but I didn't know. I now seen it in story form that somebody pull rank and transfer officers out of the city to do some other thing. City police officers, So the police commissioner apparently has given them the assurance that they will return to the city. I don't know. As I say, I heard about that story, by the way, but it's now being confirmed by an article in today's newspapers. Take care. I'll be back.
All right. So today is Monday, November 25th, 2024. And the main headline in the Daily Express, I'm starting with that. Cops nabbed in extortion sting. Officers held with marked bills after demanding $2,000 from Venezuelan. So that's the main story. And of course, I was all over the social media yesterday, and well, over the weekend, basically. The main other story is sweet, but the main picture is that of pianist Joshua Regrello, who's excellent. He's an excellent performer, actually. I saw him live. Joined his birthday boy, Irfan Alves, on stage as he celebrated his birthday with the theme Captain's Ball at Vice Nightclub, Cipriani Boulevard, Port-au-Spain, on Saturday night. I don't know Vice Nightclub.
That's where 51 Degrees used to be.
Oh, it's a new thing then?
Yeah, new owners.
New owners, okay. So there's Joshua and Irfan Alves. Joshua is excellent. And on the back page, the People's Queen, Miss Congeniality, happy to put Mova on the map. Clover Gardens feels pride. All of that is on the back page of the Daily Express. HDC garbage and ceiling issues resolved at Current Hills. Arts Fraternity mourns Lydians, Dr. Leah Brown. That was such a shock to me about Leah. I mean, that one really threw me. Condolences, of course, to her family and certainly to her children, Kambu and Akila, but it was certainly a shock to the arts community. Yeah. So the main sports story, West Indies look to press home advantage as Bangladesh struggle on third day of Antigua Test, and Caribbean champ sweep Stars crowns T10 blast back into Aruba, and Scorpions Pride Super 50 final. All of that is on the front and the back page of the Daily Express. Moving on to the Newsday. The front page of the Newsday today. Betrayed by police. That's the headline that the Newsday went with. Domestic violence victim sue state after case collapses. Betrayed by police. Marval residents frustrated over flooding. I can just imagine. I would be frustrated. Cleanup begins. A backhoe clears debris from a bridge on Sunday after heavy rainfall on Saturday caused flooding along Saddle Road in Marval. And the back page of the Newsday, rugby men earn Pan Am spot. TT fall 38-0 in round 7's final, but the rugby men earn a Pan Am spot. And CWI, no Super 50 winner because teams forfeited. So that's the front and the back of the Newsday. And the Trinidad and Tobago Guardian for today, front page. UNC rejects pay hike, demands PM Finance Minister break silence on SRC's proposed salary increases. Government seeks U.S. lawmakers' support for Dragon Gas. And major cleanup underway. In this composite photo, David Leon cleans the living room of his apartment on Gloria Avenue, Crystal Stream, Diego Martin, after heavy rain and flooding on Saturday. Yes, I heard that Diego suffered some really bad flooding over the weekend. And on the back page of the Trinidad and Tobago Guardian, TNT takes 7 silver and bronze. And that's it, basically.
Yep. All right. Thank you, Richie Rich. All right. Before we get into this morning's poll, I'll give you the poll results where we asked you on Friday, should the PCA be given powers to prosecute errant officers? 88% said yes. All right.
I have 3 potential polls this morning. A lot of polls this morning.
So the second one. You see, I'm 3, I just chose one.
The first option is, do you think the Dragon deal will be affected by the Trump administration? 1. Do you expect the SRC's report recommending salary increases to be approved? And 3, should the government state their position on the SRC's salary increase recommendations? Choose.
I like the should it be approved.
Yeah,
Okay.
me too. I'll go there.
So that's the question.
All right. Start calling 222-8255. Toll free. North Americans 866-525-1099. On WhatsApp at 318-1021. Of course, on Facebook and on YouTube. All
So
right.
do you expect the SRC's report recommending salary increases to be approved? That's our poll this morning. I repeat it one more time for those of you who just missed it. Do you expect the SRC's report recommending salary increases to be approved? That's our poll this morning. 222-TALK, 222-8255, North Americans, 866-525-1099. That's absolutely toll-free to you, North Americans. People on our streaming platforms, send your votes via the messaging portals there. And of course, if you're listening to us or watching us on M&E TV or listening to us on smart devices, WhatsApp us at 318-1021. And of course, the ticket tape will bring up the numbers shortly.
All
That's
right.
it.
Lester Crigwell says yeah. David Wares said yes. Boy Badesi says no. Anthony Franco says yes. Captain Ron says yes. Home in Orlando. Good morning, Dan Raj, Carl M. Jack, Sankofa, GNC Auto Security, Vincent. Good morning to you all. Let's see. Lester Crigwell. Well, yes, we got your yes already, Lester. Thank you so much. Do you expect the SRC's report recommending salary increases to be approved? Josie Richardson says yes. Michael Robinson says yes. Rennie Devines, yes. Boswell John, no. Brent Hackshaw, yes. Cascade St. Anne's, yes. Val says no. All right. Carl M. Jack says yes. Julia S. Batiste, yes. Do you expect the SRC's report recommending salary increases to be approved?
222-TALK, 222-8255, North Americans, 866-525-1099. And
David Nelson says yes. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, gentlemen. Sandy Grande, yes.
Thank you. Alistair Hart says no. All right. Give us a call. Message us. Michael Gradison says no. Do you expect the SRC's recommending salary increases to be approved? Yes or no? You have 5 minutes and a bit to vote before Evie walks in. She's in here already. Well, in the office, that is.
So do you expect the SRC report recommending salary increases to be approved? That's our poll this morning. What says you?
Coltet Finch says no, not now. Let's see. Southman says no. Thank you, Southman. Let's see. All right. Call us. Let us know. Message us. Michael Gratis.
Do you expect the SRC's report recommending salary increases to be approved? That's our poll this morning. Of course, the UNC is saying that they are, let me quote directly from the newspapers, UNC rejects the pay hike, but do you expect it to be approved nevertheless? 222-TALK, 222-8255, North Americans, 866-525-1099. People on the web and the apps, you know, send your votes via the messaging portals there. And of course, you can also WhatsApp us at 318-1021.
All right. If you're heading out on the Churchill Roosevelt Highway by Mausica westbound, there is an accident. All right. Hopefully, we clear it up shortly.
And just as a public. Go on.
Jaron John Joseph says yes to the poll. Michael Oliver says no. Slick Money Grip says yes. Yeah, Michael Gradison, I did not bring any. I have to leave the office by 8:15 today, so I did not walk at mine. I usually do, but I usually drink it after the show. Let's see. With 25 days to Christmas, today being the 25th day of November, let me say hello to my mother.
As a public notice, there's a full-scale emergency exercise at Piarco International Airport on Friday.
Yeah.
From 10 a.m. to 12 noon. And so the public is advised that there will be an interruption in vehicular traffic flow to and from the airport to facilitate easy access by the emergency response agency. So be aware.
That's on this Friday from 10 a.m., I think, right, Rich?
10 a.m. to 12
There you go. Yeah, this Friday. Beefy Smith in beautiful Goodwood, Tobago says yes. I see some bandits went in to rob the Pizza Boys outlet in Prospect, Tobago. They only got away with $198 in full view of all the patrons. DL says no. Miss Ingrid in Tucson, Arizona says no to the poll. Thank you, Miss Ingrid. Hope all is well. Do you expect the SRC's report recommending salary increases to be approved? Yes or no? WhatsApp 318-1021. Facebook, YouTube, call us. Wendy and sorry, it is 30 days. After I said it, I realized 30 days to Christmas. Why did they say 25? Today is the 25th. All right. Thank you, Wendy Ann. Hope all is well with you. How was the Aranguez River? Guess it was pretty high on Sunday. Esther Adams says no. Thank you, Esther. All right. And check WhatsApp here. Oh, that's it. Let's see. Right. Okay. Do you expect SRC's report recommending salary increases to be approved? Yes or no? Prime Minister will go up to 87K. All right.
So we'll be heading towards 7 a.m. So you should be setting it. Did you just give a vote or you just give the numbers?
I just gave Esther Adams saying no.
I get that down.
Yeah. All right. Avi should be here any second now. Yep.
So do you expect the SRC's report, and of course that's the Salary Review Commission's report, recommending salary increases to be approved?
Yep. Hector says yes. Joycelyn Dial Singh says yes. All right. Let me see what I have here. Oh, wonderful to hear to read. I have to read it, Miss Ingrid. Keep it up. Keep it up. She said she's wonderful.
Happy 50th to Marshall Montano.
Yeah, I think yesterday was his birthday. Or
Yep.
today?
Yesterday.
50. Too young to soca. Happy birthday to you, Marshall Montano. Belated, that is. Calvert Gabriel says yes. And Anne-Marie out in Enterprise says no. All right. Where's Eve out in Chicago? I went knocking my Eve house last week for lunch and did not open the gate, you know, Evie. She peeped through the window. She peeped at you, of course, with Steve.
I wouldn't open it. I wouldn't open either.
We don't have enough food. All right, let's get into a 7 o'clock major news. As you can hear, Evie is in.
This is your news bulletin from Power 102 Digital.
The United National Congress rejects the pay hike being recommended by the Salaries Reviews Commission. Trinidad and Tobago government in talks with U.S. to secure a dragon gas deal. The Ministry of Rural Development and Local Government says it's mobilized its resources and teams to support communities affected by floodwaters. A domestic violence victim files a constitutional claim against the state, and UE teachers warn of more protests. Details in a moment. This is News 2, 7 o'clock on Power 102 Digital. I'm Avril Sintil-Bab. Good morning. The United National Congress is rejecting the pay hike being recommended by the Salaries Reviews Commission in its most recent report, although opposition leader Kamla Persad-Basasa and her MPs stand to benefit from the proposed salary increases for politicians. Two opposition MPs are demanding Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley and Finance Minister Colm Imbert break their silence on the government's stance on the SRC report. Making their positions clear yesterday at a media briefing, Princestown MP Barry Padarath and Couva South MP Rudranathan Darsingh shunned the proposal pay hike, especially for Dr. Rowley. The SRC has recommended that the salaries of the Prime Minister, President, Opposition Leader, and Chief Justice be increased. The Prime Minister's salary is currently $59,680, which was set in 2013 and would rise in two layers, increasing from October 1st, 2020 to September 30th, 2023 to $80,000, and then from October 1st, 2023 onward to $87,847. The report laid in Parliament on November 15th also recommended increases for the President, the Chief Justice, Chief Secretary of the Tobago House of Assembly, Opposition Leader, MPs, members of the Judiciary, Police Commissioner, and other senior public servants. Padarath said they held the view that the Opposition Leader expressed a few months ago that politicians should not benefit from any SRC recommendation for increases. He questioned whether the government had intentions of accepting or rejecting the Salaries Reviews Commission report. Meanwhile, Darsingh said that now was not the time for an increase. Minister of Energy and Energy Industry Stuart Young says the government has been engaged with both the Democrats and Republicans in its attempts to secure TNT's dragon gas deal with Venezuela. He made the revelation while addressing the Chaguanas Chamber of Industry and Commerce annual Christmas dinner and awards function at the Passage to Asia restaurant Chaguanas. Young said this was being done through TNT's continued engagements with parties in Washington. He revealed following the outcome of the recent U.S. election, the government of TNT has been holding talks. Young disclosed that the government has secured a 30-year license for the Dragon Field with the government of Venezuela and a 2-year OFAC license from the United States government that he assured would be honored until it expires in October 2025. A domestic violence victim has filed a constitutional claim against the state, asserting that failures by police and prosecutors led to the dismissal of assault charges against her former partner, infringing on her fundamental rights. The constitutional claim was filed in September by her attorneys Lee Mary SC, Christy Mohan, and Ashley Mutilal. It has been assigned to Justice Carol Gobin and will be heard on December 9th. The assault case saw the police prosecutor, the complainant, failed to attend multiple court hearings. The prosecutor at the Sangre Grande Magistrates Court also allegedly failed to comply with court directions, resulting in the charge against the victim's ex-fiancé being dismissed on May 1st. The victim, whose name has not been disclosed for her protection, had reported her ex-boyfriend for a violent attack witnessed by her child, niece, and mother. In her lawsuit, the claimant accused the state of failing to uphold sections 4 and 5 of the Constitution, including the right to security of the person, protection of the law, and a fair hearing. She further alleges that the state failed to ensure mechanisms were in place to compel police complainants to attend court and to enforce prosecutorial compliance with court orders. This systemic failure, the claim asserts, amounts to irrationality, unreasonableness, fundamental unfairness, and the arbitrary exercise of power. The Ministry of Rural Development and Local Government says it has mobilized its resources and teams to support communities affected by the heavy rainfall and thunderstorms associated with the passage of a low-level trough on November 23rd. In a media release on November 24th, the ministry said the bad weather caused significant street flooding, flash flooding, and fallen trees, particularly in northern Trinidad. It said although waters have mostly subsided, numerous landslides have been reported, causing road blockages and property damage in areas such as Upper La Puerta Avenue, La Saiva Road, and Long Circular Road. The ministry said the disaster management unit has deployed technical teams and heavy machinery to clear these roads and assess the extent of the damage. The ministry said it swiftly activated its coordinated response in collaboration with critical stakeholders, including the Diego Martin Borough Corporation, the San Juan Laventille Regional Corporation, the Ministry of Works and Transport, the Fire Service, and CPEP. The Downtown Owners and Merchants Association is asking the Ministry of National Security and the Office of the Commissioner of Police for the immediate return of 35 Port of Spain City Police officers who were transferred to an undisclosed location in South Trinidad. DOMA claims that they have been reliably informed that this transfer from the city police headquarters was originally supposed to be a temporary measure, but has persisted for more than several months, with the likelihood that the officers will be away from city duties through the month of December. The business group says vigilance on city streets during the Christmas season needs no justification, especially in the midst of the start of the cruise ship season. Meanwhile, media reports say, contacted for comment, Police Commissioner Erla Haywood Christopher has given the assurance that the officers will return to the capital as requested, but no time frame has been given. The Police Service Commission says it is committed to ensuring accountability within the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service under its new leadership. PSC Chairman Dr. Wendell says this is one of his key priorities, and he will be working closely with Commissioner of Police Erla Haywood Christopher to address the TTPS data deficiencies and the growing erosion of public trust. He made the disclosure while speaking with Guardian Media recently. Speaking on the case of dismissal of police officers charged with extortion, Dr. Wallace said that he will be working with Haywood Christopher to ensure files were submitted on time. Commenting on public trust, confidence, and satisfaction survey, Dr. Wallace said he took a look at last year's report, adding that while it was good, more could be done. The University of the West Indies group of university teachers warns protest action will continue at the UWI St. Augustine campus until salary negotiations are satisfactorily settled. President Dr. Indra Rampasad reportedly told Guardian Media on Sunday the union is yet to hear something official from the government. Recently, WIGAD intensified its protests, claiming its members continue to face challenges by living on 2014 salaries amidst rising inflation and increased living costs. UWI workers were offered a 2% increase from the government and are currently negotiating for the period 2015 to 2017 collective period. Speaking in Parliament last Friday, Finance Minister Colm Imbert said that it was absurd to ask the taxpayers of this country to fund the current proposal of WIGAD, which would cost upwards of $700 million in back pay. The Health Ministry says it continues to monitor the spread of avian influenza A, also known as the bird flu virus. The virus has raised serious concerns among health officials across the world after multiple farm workers in the United States were infected earlier this month. Locally, the Ministry of Health has not reported any cases this year, but it did confirm that it can test for the virus. The Ministry of Health is closely monitoring the recent international cases of avian influenza A in line with the World Health Organization's guidance. You are listening to news on Power 102 Digital to 7 o'clock. In an item of sport, the West Indies continued to hold the advantage at stumps on day 3 of the opening test against Bangladesh at the Sir Vivian Richards Stadium. The visitors closed the day on 269 for 9 in their first innings reply to the 450 for 9 declared posted by the hosts. Bad light put an end to the day's play with the visitors limping to the close at 269 for 9, still trailing by 181 runs. Alzari Joseph is the pick of the bowlers so far with 3 for 69, while Jaden Seals and Justin Graves have 2 wickets apiece. Play resumes at 10 a.m. today. Well, finally, here is weather news for the period today till midnight. Trinidad and Tobago, generally sunny and breezy with the likelihood of partly cloudy spells and showers over a few areas. There's also a low chance of isolated thunderstorm activity. Nighttime will be generally settled despite isolated showers. Gusty winds are possible in the event of heavy downpours. All marine interests are being advised to exercise caution, especially in northern coastal regions, due to the likelihood of long-period swells. You can expect a temperature high of 33 degrees Celsius at Piarco International Airport and 32 degrees Celsius at Crown Point in Tobago. Currently, it is 26 degrees Celsius at both localities. Recapping your headlines at 7 o'clock, the United National Congress rejects the pay hike recommended by the Salaries Reviews Commission. Trinidad and Tobago government in talks with U.S. to secure Dragon gas deal. The Ministry of Rural Development and Local Government says it's mobilized its resources and teams to support communities affected by floodwaters. A domestic violence victim files a constitutional claim against the state, and UWI teachers warn of more protest. I'm Avril Sintelbab. That was news to 7 o'clock on Power 102 Digital. Look out for more news in detail at 12 noon and an update at 8 o'clock this morning. For more details, log on to power102fm.com.
Up to date and credible. Power 102 Digital.
All righty, AV, thank you so much for our major news. Of course, you could join her again at 8 o'clock for our news brief. All right. Let's double check to see if that accident, my mouse is cleared up. So you have it seems to be, maybe it's just a little tap, but that's it. Traffic, usual places. There's one accident. It's on my poolside 2 up in St. Joseph. So, yeah, that's kind of out of the way. All right, let's see if we have any more votes in our morning poll, where we asked you, do you expect the SRC's report recommending salary increases to be approved? On WhatsApp, I have Up North saying yes. On Facebook and on YouTube, whoa, let's see, we got a good bit here. Joycelyn, Hector, Calvert, Gabriel says yes. Alan Reese says no. Wayne Lala says no. Beauty Culture says no. Let's see. Tone Lope says no. And that's it.
So our poll this morning, do you expect the SRC's report recommending salary increases to be approved? We had 39 people voting on the poll in the allotted time. And of that 39, how did it split? I'm about to tell you. 17 of you said no, you do not expect the SRC's report to be approved. And 22 of you said yes. So it was a close-ish poll, but not that close, but still close-ish. So 22 said yes, 17 said no, and for a total of 39. So 39 people voting in the allotted time. Of course, you can continue to vote on this poll throughout the day and through all programming, and we'll give you the final result tomorrow morning, Tuesday, as we head towards Thanksgiving on Thursday. I think Thanksgiving is on Thursday.
Thursday, yeah, the Thanksgiving week.
What do you guys think? Paul, Richard, Steve.
Do I expect it to be approved? I think so. It will be approved.
Yeah, it'll be approved.
Yeah. I believe the fact that they sent it back. Sorry?
You would not even know when it's approved.
Well, exactly. Well, no, they're going to follow this story, trust me. Because the opposition members getting money too.
Yeah.
So they are going to make a big deal of it. I'm sure they're not going to send back the money, but they're going to make a big deal. But they're going to make a big deal of it for politics' sake.
The mere idea that the report had to go back for adjustment because of the figures of some offices, etc., and the SRC report had to revisit offices that were asked to be revisited, so to speak, from the state itself, from as high as the Minister of Finance.
Yes.
And indicates that there is a certain level of seriousness to moving forward with it, in my opinion.
Yeah. Now that it has returned to the cabinet, so just get it over and done with now. I have a stake in it, I have a little cacada to get, small, very small, but I still have a little something to get. I deserve it. As I said, local government people deserve it. I maintain that. You understand? So if they want to forget about the independent senators and the parliamentarians, that's their business. I can't see him too good, because I'm using my phone. I can't see his face too good.
I find independent senators' salary should be doubled, quite frankly, Wendell.
But Paul, away out, something going on there.
Wendell, I'm seeking our collective interest in case we ever call.
Okay. All right, point take me. Might get a call in through you, right? How's Kerwin going?
I haven't spoken to Kerwin in the absolute years and years and years.
Welcome, now, man. You and Kerwin have to take a little time with your lapsing.
In years.
Believe it or not, I picked up a passenger on the way down. One of our ardent fans. Good morning, Miss Michelle. Good morning. She works right next to me on Western Main Road, and I just happened to glimpse her as I'm driving on the road. I say, she said she was hearing me saying that I had to leave early. So like she come out on the bus to wait, and I feel as though she. Oh Lord. But the road is clear so far. I'm already by Constantine Park. Is this Constantine Park? Yes, Constantine Park. It's clear thus far.
The traffic will start in Kirep.
I figure so. Anyway, are we having a guest today?
I might be in town a little bit later this morning, actually.
I'll be at Rumbox for the entire day. And then I'll be at Queen's Park Oval for the entire evening and night. We have 3 matches back to back today.
Did you all notice the first comment from the new chair of the Police Service Commission, Dr. Wendell Wallace?
Why are they attacking Dr. Wallace? Well, what's the problem with Dr. Wallace? Because he was part of EDC? They're attacking him. Why?
What was his first comment, though? I don't know. I can't remember.
I don't know why you give oxygen to these things, Wendell.
Because it's printed, they're putting that out there in the public.
Some things that you give no more oxygen to.
No, but what did Mr. Wallace say?
But I like to expose the pettiness of the opposition too sometimes. Because it's pettiness.
He said his first order of business, or the first order of business of the new iteration of the commission, is to ensure transparency and accountability for the TTPS and to appoint a new commissioner.
But it's also to establish what is the purpose, I think. He used a particular word. He said because that was missing all the time. But there's the word he used. Is it rubric? I'm not sure if it's rubric. If you pull up the article, you might be in a better position to get the word he used, Paul, to describe what he needs to establish, because apparently that was never established.
He wants to streamline the appointment of a commissioner because it's quite convoluted at the moment. Paraphrased.
Yeah.
It could be a Freudian slip. But when he said new commissioner, I found it quite interesting that he said new commissioner. I know they're in the process of vetting people. Well, the process has started anyway. I don't know if the interviews have started yet. They postponed them. So we'll see how it goes.
But you were to give us a hint as to who were some of these people.
I never said I'd give you a hint. I said I knew and I wasn't going to say.
Is that what you said?
Yes.
You change your mind?
It's politicians do that sometimes when they
Yeah.
ever so slightly, and they're not really wrong. But it's really.
It's in my back. It's in my back pocket.
Yes, we learn.
It's in my fob.
You know, we learn from Wendell.
Who?
Attorneys at law.
Yeah, they're very good at that.
Yeah. But gentlemen, we do have our guest online. Let's say good morning. Going on to Professor Ramesh Deosaran. Good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen. Good morning.
How are you?
Well, I am quiet. I'm watching on like everybody else, hoping for the best tomorrow. Yesterday wasn't so good, so we're hoping tomorrow and next year will be better than we are today.
Good morning, Prof.
Yeah, morning. Of course, we have Richard, Paul, and Wendell online. I don't know what's happening tomorrow. What's happening tomorrow?
All right. Morning again, gentlemen. Morning.
Tomorrow.
Morning, Professor Jason.
Yeah.
Professor, we have a new iteration of the Police Service Commission. The outgoing iteration, which was headed by retired Justice Judith. Is it Jones? I'm a brain going blank.
Yeah,
Judith Jones.
Yes.
Gave a report. One of the, and I want to go through two parts of the report. Of course, one part is very damning of the police service in a survey with a sample of just over 2,000 people, but I'll get to that. But one of the parts of the report, Justice Jones, retired Justice Jones, said that the commission doesn't have the powers to investigate and get the kind of information they need to get in the assessment of a commissioner and the DCPs. Your thoughts on that?
Two things. One is that my recollection of the constitutional mandate of the Police Service Commission when I was chairman around 2011, 2013, 14, around there. I think they do have scope to inquire and to measure. And if you mean by investigation, leading to prosecution, but they can't prosecute, as we all know. That's the work of the DPP. But they could certainly investigate. If they can't now, they should have the power to investigate, because how will you get reliable information to make a particular determination as to reappoint or discipline? So I think that whole matter has to be deliberated. My view is that, yes, they do have powers. They can interpret their powers to investigate, but of course they can't prosecute. So what we have been having, I think we need to deepen the inquiry powers of the Police Service Commission. If what she says is...
What I think she said is that they have to rely on a lot of information from the police commissioner's office and the police themselves in the examination of the performance of the commissioner and deputies and the service as a whole. I think that's the context in which she said it.
I understand, Paul. Mm-hmm. So what she needs, perhaps, is manpower, not so much powers.
That too.
She needs manpower to exercise the powers. If that's what she's saying, that if the police has to do the investigation and not the Police Service Commission, well, on that score, what she needs is not powers as much as she needs manpower to execute the mandate. And I think that's a plausible point.
Did you see the report?
No, I just had a glance at it. I wanted to read the previous one and this one, but I didn't get the time to see. But I understand what she said. I have a summary of what she was saying.
A lot of what the reports were on the commission was, one, the commissioner, the public had a really poor perspective on the commissioner's actions on corrupt officers. The public had a poor sense of public trust and confidence, which is an ongoing issue. And the public did not feel safe at day or night going to work, socializing, etc., which are continuing issues with the police service. It doesn't seem that this report is different from ones of the past and from other entities. What do you think is the issue with the police making progress in these areas?
Well, Paul, you have been around for a long time. You know all these complaints and public dissatisfaction and the institutional fragmentation and breakdown. These issues go back many, many years, and the issue that the public should be considering now is how to get the government and the parliament to do what is right to remedy these breaches, because every year we have these well-paid, expensive institutions not performing even on average. They're way below average, and taxpayers' monies are being spent, which is one aspect of it. But the purpose, the fit for purpose imperative is not there. National security, public safety, even the salaries issues we're talking about just now, even the Integrity Commission. If you go through the string of them, Paul, you will see all of them failing in their duty. They're not properly fit for purpose, either because of the personnel appointed to them, whether it's through political patronage or through the presidents or what. But we're not getting the performance level we require. And then related to that are the institutions themselves. Take the Integrity Commission. I'll come back to the Police Service Commission, but the Integrity Commission, you're publishing these hundreds of names of people who didn't declare as they were required to do by law. And nothing is done. Every year you get the same output of hundreds of people not providing their declarations. And there is a law to remedy that. But apart from the law, the fact that the commission itself, look at it, it is not fit for the purpose, because you can't have these hundreds of people every year without any particular consequence. And maybe the scope of the commission itself is too broad, and it doesn't suit the kind of management scope that the Integrity Commission has. Maybe you should trim it down and only do certain people, or even have a discretionary power to select people that you think are breaching the laws of integrity. So we need to revisit all this thing. And over the years, quite a number of people, when Dennise Demming was alive, when Reginald Dumas were alive, I was chairman of the commission, we all joined together and we called for serious remedies to the Police Service Commission in the particular areas that Justice Judith Jones pointed out. So the question boils down to a political one. What are the elected representatives and parliament doing? With the Police Service Commission, Dr. Rowley has complained when the Griffith issue arose very bitterly about the inefficiency and the unsuitability of the Police Service Commission, going so far, Paul, as to say that the present structure is worse than what we had before in the days of Pandey and Manning, but yet nothing is done. And Kamala Prasad-Bissessar herself, even though she was one of the architects in 2006 for this new formulation, she's remaining quiet on the point. And even though one or two of her members expressed dissatisfaction with the Police Service Commission, nobody on either side is doing anything. And this is where the public has to come now and press forward and find out why are they not making the remedies required, rather than having this recycling of inefficiency, public dissatisfaction, affecting the whole morale of the country.
Well, do you expect the current iteration of this new commission to be a little bit more activist in the direction that you are suggesting, in terms of getting the kind of power and scope that will take the commission forward in doing tangible results that reflects in the public gaining confidence? I know Mr. Wallace, as Paul had just indicated, that one of his first things to do was to look at even the process of the selection of a police commissioner, and saying that it's too convoluted, and seeing how to streamline that process. Do you think that this commission can make a difference, or do you think they're trapped by the bureaucratic straps of what the current system is?
The commission is imprisoned by its structure and by process. whatever the new commission decides to do with its structure, either digging deep into the methodology and what. The bottom line remains a political one. They can do what they want, and when the list comes through the president of parliament, as the constitution requires, the prime minister stands up and put number 4 as number 1 without any convincing reason. So all this paraphernalia about doing this and doing that at the top is a shadow boxing.
But isn't that part of the reform that needs to take place, Professor?
Fundamentally a political decision.
Aspect of it? Isn't that exactly the type of reform that needs to take place? That you have a merit list that is created by a constitutional body that says this one assessed number 1, this one assessed number 2, this one assessed number 3. Yet a political element can say, me want the first 6, I take in number 7 and don't give no reason. And which suggests that, well, number 7 mightn't be the best as assessed by the constitutionally appointed commission, but I feel to take that one.
Well, what you're seeing here in effect, Paul, is that the constitutional purpose of the Police Service Commission is not suitable to the political directorate, which was essentially the point that both parties tried to remedy in 2006. They want to make the Police Service Commission independent. Now we have to put that word independent in quotation marks, because how could you be independent when whatever you do, after studying and measuring and interviewing and paying consultants, the last time I remember, not recently but previously, millions of dollars to develop questionnaires and interview protocol and so on. And when it reached Parliament, as I told you, number 4 came number 1 without any convincing reasons and without any research of their own. In any case, they couldn't do research of their own because you're making the Police Service Commission redundant.
Yeah.
That is the work of the commission. So it is a circular, it's a kind of circularity here that is very disappointing, and it reflects very badly on the governance of the country.
So is it that you would prefer, personally, Professor Diosaran, you would prefer that the Police Service Commission can do the recruitment process and they select the Commissioner of Police and that's it, it ends there? Or do you think there should still be some parliamentary input? Or you believe that it should be completely separate and that they select and that's it?
That's a very, very, very good point. It raises the dilemma that appointing a police commissioner, which has very serious implications, that is a dilemma, because on the one hand, you have to have subsequently the question of accountability. Who will be accountable to the public for the work of the Police Service Commission and the police service? Are you going to hold the Police Service Commission, which is a non-elected body, accountable, or the government? The system we have is that the government, the elected representatives, should be accountable to the people. That is the system of democracy we have. So how do you get that fulfilled and still have an independent Police Service Commission? And I think that was, I had met with Ellis Clark, who was one of the architects, assisted in developing the 2006 legislation, which we have now. And that is the dilemma. You must have accountability. So therefore, we were really in a dilemma. Before, as Paul wouldn't remember, we had the veto by the Prime Minister. So that made the government accountable, and that perhaps didn't go too well. But even now, the government is still accountable, even though you have a Police Service Commission, because in the end, is the Parliament led by the majority leader who really appoints the commissioner and the deputy commissioners. So we have an entanglement, and I think what we're raising now is to have a sober discussion of this issue and let the public know the lesser of the evils, because there couldn't be a perfect solution as I see it. As long as you're talking about political accountability, you're
So could
reaching
you
that
go to
80-90% because
could you go
politicians have a way of dodging and bobbing and weaving over the issue. And that's why you put a so-called independent commission to do the work. But yet, we have restraints.
But could you go to a system, for example, of akin to what the Americans do with where the Senate grills before somebody is appointed to the president's cabinet, that you have a Senate made up of, for example, 3 members of the opposition, 3 members of the governing administration, and 3 members of the independent branch. So you have 9 members sitting, but they're all equal numbers, and they are the one that grills the selected commissioner, and they have to then vote on who the selected, if they accept that selected commissioner. So it's more bipartisan, so to speak, in terms of the selection, the final selection.
Well, in terms of process, that seems reasonable. It has transparency. It has a balance, so you remove some of the political biasness in it. But the question remains, after that, who will be accountable for the work of the commissioner? The Senate?
Well, won't it be the Police Service Commission itself? Would they have the power to remove?
So you still have any Police Service Commission?
Well, they're still the constitutional body, so they put forward the candidate, but the candidate still has to go past that Senate approval. But ultimately, the performance appraisal, so to speak, of the commissioner still would repose with the commission.
So if the police commissioner falls down on the job seriously, who will be accountable?
Well, Professor, if I could interject, what Richard is saying to me makes sense. If you have a committee, perhaps, of the parliament, as constructed as Richard suggested, vote to appoint a commissioner, the remit of the Police Service Commission to assess that commissioner's performance and the 3 deputies still remains. At the end of the day, if that process of assessment is robust and a proper assessment is done, a government would be loathed to reappoint someone who has not been adjudged to perform adequately.
I see your point, but
there'll be public accountability there. So the Police Service Commission says this person fell short on 7 of 9 metric points, and the government reappoints that person. That's on the government at that point.
Yes.
So
Paul,
there are different layers of accountability built in there.
Yes. So,
for example, one of the things I wanted to discuss is the issue of the recent collapse of the cases involving 2 sets of officers. And there's a Guardian report that I want to quote from, which says that data from the Police Court and Process Branch revealed that in 2019 alone, there were 1,800 cases where police officers failed to attend court. In the 2 cases recently that have been highly publicized, the courts demanded, according to new JIPA rules and regulations, evidence being supplied in a timely manner, which was not done, and the suggestion also that officers did not provide the evidence on one hand to prosecutors from the DPP's office, we presume, because we ain't heard from the DPP yet, and also the cases collapsed because of errant or shortcomings of police officers. And now, finally, we're hearing some sort of disciplinary action on the horizon. It could be next year, after, whenever, from the commissioner because of this indiscipline from officers. When this is happening all the time, and it's only, in my opinion, because these cases are so high profile that you're hearing anything from the commissioner's office.
Yes, Paul. But before we enter that, let me clarify something with the proposal to have the 3 in the Senate as part of the process to appoint a commissioner. I don't know if you mean putting resources to these 9 people to inquire, measure, because you couldn't just come up with a view in an interview and have that as a convincing measure to give to the commission after that. you will have to determine how much resources you're giving these nine people to do the work that you expect them to do, interviewing. But an interview alone is not enough in this particular case. So there might be some redundancy there, but we need to clarify it. It's a good idea in theory, but I still have some reservations about the practice when you have a parallel body like the Police Service Commission with all these powerful constitutional options, and yet it boils down to a political decision. Because in the end, the system we have is somebody must be accountable, and that is the point you implying with the police officers who don't appear. It's another long story. If I had time, I would write a book on this, the long stories of malgovernance. This thing starts a long time. Sometimes you wonder if we were better off with efficiency and accountability before independence. It is troubling us. It's a very troubling situation. The figures you just quote there. So many occasions, police didn't appear to present their case on the prosecution side. And what that contaminates the police service. It destroys public confidence to the point where you ask, well, who should have been responsible and why not? And even today, having a disciplinary inquiry, you should have a monitoring system in the police service. As soon as a case is about to be tried, you should have everything ready. One of the deputy commissioners should be in charge of that. You have a deputy commissioner for administration, one for finance, and one for operations. Well, what was the deputy commissioner for administration doing? You have a case together with the DPP. This thing should be properly configured and presented in the court. This is a public interest matter because the case is on behalf of the public interest. So the questions arise and over, Paul. It looks so terrible that we have been faltering in so many important respects, but we keep recycling the errors and the controversy without any plausible solutions being put forward in terms of accountability.
It's frustrating because we keep having these conversations decade after decade, and it's not improving, really.
Well, and it's not solved through elections either.
No.
So, when you have an election, it doesn't make much difference at the top, in terms of administration, governance. If you examine it kind of impartially, elections don't really solve our problems, have they? The answer is no. You have some good starting points, but it doesn't end up successfully at the finish line. A lot of controversy and blaming and accusing, and even people who have cases in the courts, they like behaving whiter than angels. It's very convoluted.
Professor, what's a glaring example of inaction in the face of empirical evidence? You and a team were mandated to do a police manpower audit report, which was extremely comprehensive some years ago, right? By the Honorable Prime Minister. Not so?
Yes.
It was extremely comprehensive. It covered several different areas about police performance, police resources, etc. I would love to know how many of the recommendations in that report have actually been implemented and what improvements have been made. So after all of that, after all the resources, after all the work, after all the empirical evidence gathered, after all the recommendations made, what has come out of that?
Well, Paul, I would say three things to you and Steve Kahn and the other people you have there. You are a senator, independent senator. You do good work because you have a background going with it. So I look forward to you raising a question in the Senate. Put that in a question form to them. Secondly, one of the major recommendations we made, to me, when I retrospect and from what I know about it, one of the most powerful recommendations we made was to appoint a police inspectorate, a sort of unit, and they will do the ground level work. They will go around the stations, look at the relationship with the community, look at the staffing situation, the physical, the manpower issues, all the ground level issues, without providing all the details now. All the ground level issues, and give a report to the commissioner and his or her executive. because the kind of thing happening at the top, they don't have time to do all of this, and it seems as if the evidence, such as the one with the police may not appear, the police not appearing in the courts and so on. All these things could be accumulated and summarized and presented quickly to the executive and the police service. And even the minister might have a role to play in interpreting these results. So a police service, a police inspectorate is a very powerful unit. It's been used in some other jurisdictions with good results. Thirdly, on the membership of the police manpower audit committee, you had 3 senior police officers. I remember
including
Commissioner Philip was there. The commissioner himself was there. Ola Christopher was a member of that particular committee. So the police had a tremendous input and they all signed off on it. So look at where we are. You signed off on something. You're in a position now to implement, and the question arises again. So you're posing with good memory an important issue as evidence. I don't like to talk too much about it, obviously, because I was chairman of the committee. I don't want, the people will react and say who we think he is, and I don't like to get involved in that. But at the same time, it is a matter of national interest, and I am kind of pleased that you have raised it in that way. I mean, maybe one day when you get inspired to pose a question in the Senate. I see this question.
I'll get an obfuscatory answer.
Pardon me, Paul?
I'll get an obfuscatory answer. A nebulous answer, a lot of fluff and nothing substantial, generally.
But could it be that part of Ola Christopher's problems as the commissioner of police is an endemic culture that is really very difficult to change, and it takes, I don't know, I'm just trying to see it from maybe her lens, and you're trying to change it, and it may seem incremental to us on the outside, but she's really trying to change stuff inside. And I'm saying that because you have 3 high-profile cases of extortion and corruption in the police service, allegedly, and you use the word allegedly, that has come to the forefront, including over the weekend, which must give rise to citizens thinking, well, how pervasive is this? How many police officers or police units go to businesses or go to certain people and say, hey, and they come in a friendly manner, but it's to collect money or to collect goods or whatever form the alleged corruption may take place, which then transposes into a kind of corrupt underbelly that possibly permeates the TTPS. Which
Richard, what you're alluding to is what we talk about all the time, that batch culture. That police service cannot be fixed by someone who came up through the police service. It cannot be done. I keep saying that. Our best chance was Guy Griffith, and he messed it up. But it cannot be fixed by Ola Christopher or by any of those deputies or by anybody who coming up through the ranks of that police service. It cannot be fixed. The culture is too endemic, and that's what's going on. People are good ones, they will not speak out against the bad ones. That batch culture it's too pervasive.
The batch culture is a very deep element in the police service, and the batch culture also implies those who were trained together as a whole batch. The word you're using is not badge. I think you mean in batch. So I hope the public understand the difference you're making.
Yes, batch are saying, Professor, driving and talking at the same time. Sorry.
You're quite correct. But you see, the thing is so deep. You see, there are 2 levels in this matter that we're talking about. One is the legal level, who go to court, what the decision of the court is, and you can't prejudice the trial. But at the same time, there's another level, which is the more operational, political level, that is. The public knows what's going on. I know certain shops where the police officers, Christmas time, they move around collecting their whiskey and so on, so on, so on, so amid laughter and greetings and so on. Freely. That is about a normal thing in the particular places I talk about, down south, deep down south. So that has been a regular thing, collecting things from business places in the way that I have just described, but it has etched up now to more serious forms of what we call now extortion, allegedly. But the public knows what's going on. And you cannot wait for a case to be called because it takes 8, 9, 10 years. So, what does that do? When public morale is falling lower and lower, you have these things going on without remedies, without even do a court case. But the point you're making, I think it's a very powerful point. How does a culture change itself? Because if you're using the same instruments to do something that with the same old instruments, how it wouldn't get changed? And the Einstein quote about you're doing the same thing over and over, which is really insanity. So we're in a thing, and one of your remedy to make an appointment outside the police service, but then you'll bounce your head as well, because if the inspectors and the police culture inside don't show, if they show resistance to the new person, that makes it worse. That's what happened with Iwatsky and Gibbs, When they were here, I was chairman, and I heard the complaints that you're making that the police officers inside, whether it was for community policing or whatever their policy was, before they could operationalize their policies, that is Iwatsky and Gibbs, they were resistance of all kinds. So the output was badly affected. So you're raising another issue there. Now, there's a solution. I think you have to be bold and brave and enforce the Police Service Act, the regulations in the police.
And then two of the main resistors are candidates now.
I didn't hear you, sorry.
I didn't say anything.
He said two of the main resistors at the time are now candidates. I don't know who he's talking about.
So which means he has to identify 8 more. Thanks, Paul. I don't read you loud and clear. Oh boy, this place made a tailspin, yes?
Well, I mean, we're laughing, yeah, but it's such a critical dimension of life, civilization, and progress in Trinidad and Tobago at this time, because national security and citizen security affects every aspect of our lives, personally, community-wide, and nationally. Every single aspect of our lives in Trinidad and Tobago. And we have not been able to make progress for a long, long time. So, while the conversations now don't seem to be evolving, we cannot have the conversations.
You see, this country living in a virtual reality. The real issues are on the side, they are one side, and we shadow boxing, we sleepwalking around the major issues without any solution. And I don't know how we could break that mold, as it were. Who will offer themselves for office? Maybe people talk about a new party or whatever remedies but the people in power have laws and regulations to do the right thing, but they're not doing it. Look at this thing that Paul referred to, the police manpower audit. It's there on their desk. Rowley highly commended it publicly. The Parliament, when I appeared before the Joint Select Committee to present it in its detail, the members of the Joint Select Committee commended the committee for the comprehensive report it did, and blah, 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 blah. So what's happening to it? And when I talk about shadow boxing, I come down out to the public and the professionals and the commentator. Nobody would follow up and ask Paul. And thank goodness you raised it. But there's no follow-up to say, well, look how they followed up on the salaries issue. So the committee's work remain on the shelf, and that's not the important thing. The important thing, it is not implemented. and the police service is suffering for it. Public confidence is also suffering for it. But who cares? That is just another report that remains up there in the shelf, like the Wooden Commission or whatever. So several committees and commissions we have had on the police service, they all line on the politicians' shelves.
Never a doubt. Professor, thank you for being with us this morning. Always a great conversation with you. Frustrating at times, not because of you, but because of the situation. But we always appreciate your contribution. Have a great day. Be safe.
Well, Paul, I'm still happy if I might make a postal remark. You're still playing a public service role in this particular program, apart from your work in the Senate. And I thank you. I thank you on behalf of the public.
I have to call you. That proposal I suggested to you for you heading a committee that I want is still on the table. So I'll call you offline.
All right, Paul. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you so much, Professor.
All right, Steve.
All the best to you. Have a great one.
It comes down to one choosing the right person for commissioner and then holding that person accountable, regardless of politics.
Yeah.
And if the person is not performing, they cannot be reappointed.
You're not going to get a commissioner amongst the ranks of the TTPS. You're not going to get an effective commissioner amongst the ranks of the TTPS. I maintain that.
I'm not sure about that. I'm sure that no matter who you put there, whether it's from within the ranks or outside the ranks, that person needs to realize that they have to perform or they'll be out. And if they don't feel that way, or if they feel that they have some sort of leverage so that whether they perform or not, whether the public feels they're performing or not, whether things are improving or not, they're going to stay there. There's no impetus to perform.
Mm-hmm.
It's as simple as that.
Well said. Well said.
And I honestly, given the last 2 years, have serious questions about assessment of commissioners' performance. Serious questions.
Can't operate. You can't operate.
Let me ask a question.
Mm-hmm.
In the last 2 years, what are the major accomplishments of the police service?
You cannot operate on the premise.
Answer my question.
No, but I'm saying it here. You cannot operate on the premise of who you like and who you're afraid of. You will fail. If you keeping people in positions because you like them, or you're keeping people in positions because you're afraid of them, well, you have already failed.
Let's go a step further. If you're appointing people because you like them, you don't fail already.
Yep.
As opposed to competence and meritocracy. You fail from the start.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And then the other limb is if they're there and they're not performing, that's another limb. Anyway, you'll have
you're afraid of them, because that is where it reaches down to sometimes.
I ain't about to afraid. But clearly, there's several factors, I guess, that go into whether someone is assessed to be performing or not. And if you're using, and this is a statement made in the public domain, the office holder was assessed to be performing well. I don't know what the metrics for that well is. Because if you ask 100 citizens out there, you know what the predominant answer is going to be. Right? Have a great day. You'll be safe.
All right.
Yep, you too as well, Paul.
Have a fantastic day, folks. And remember to let go and let go. Come and walk in the Queen's Park over later now. Anyone out there? Come and check. There whole night.
All right.
Yeah, it's Monday, so have a fantastic day as the work week begins, whatever you do. And of course, remember to smile and laugh. It's great for your health. Have a good one.
All right, gentlemen, do have a great day. Be safe in all that you do. All right. All right, folks. Chat with you bright and early come tomorrow morning. When we'll do it all over again. I'll have to get a guest tomorrow. My 2 guests I asked already for the morning, so they can't. So we'll try and figure something out for tomorrow. All right. Let's get into our 8 o'clock news brief. Oop, my mouse is giving me problems again. Here we go. Yeah, if you're in.
This is your news bulletin from Power 102 Digital.
Time for your news update at 8 o'clock. I'm Afrel Sintel Bob. Good morning. The TTPS is simply not fit for purpose, and TNT is not getting the performance level that's required. It is simply not acceptable that there are police officers not turning up for court without consequences. This is according to criminologist Dr. Ramesh Deosaran, who spoke on the Power Breakfast show this morning. Commenting on his views on the effectiveness of the new police commission, Dr. Deosaran said the commission is imprisoned by structure and process. The 5 newly appointed members of the Police Service Commission received their instruments of appointment on Friday, November 23rd. Dr. Deosaran said whatever the plans are for the commission, the fact is that it remains a political pawn. He said that there must be a body to hold the police service accountable based on the system of democracy in which we exist. However, he said the dilemma is that the Police Service Commission is also not independent of the government. The body of a man who went missing yesterday was located and brought to shore by the Hunters Search and Rescue Team. The team, led by Captain Valance Rambarat, received a distress call at 6:26 p.m. yesterday from Corporal Suklal of the Penal Police Station, indicating that 52-year-old Sunil Sankar was liming at the Katwaru Trace Dam when he went for a swim. However, his friends stated that he did not return. At approximately 10 p.m. last evening, the Hunters Search and Rescue Team located the body. Using a method called fishing, the team was able to snag the body and successfully bring it to shore. The body was about 40 feet into the dam. The fire services also responded. The Ministry of Rural Development and Local Government says it has mobilized its resources and teams to support communities affected by heavy rainfall and thunderstorms associated with the passage of a low-level trough on November 23rd. In a media release on November 24th, the ministry said the bad weather caused significant street flooding, flash flooding, and fallen trees, particularly in northern Trinidad. And the Minister of Energy and Energy Industry, Stuart Young, says the government has been engaged with both the Democrats and Republicans in its attempts to secure TNT's Dragon gas deal with Venezuela. Well, that was your update to 8 o'clock. Look out for news in full at 12 noon. I'm Afro.
Alrighty, it is 2 minutes after the hour of 8 o'clock on this 25th day of November. It is Monday, and let us welcome Dennise Demming. Morning to Dennise. How you doing?
Morning. I'm very well, thank you. And it's so great to be here. Monday morning, and we're almost in December. Isn't it absolutely lovely?
50 days to Christmas. Just putting that out there.
That will cause some people panic. 30 days for Christmas.
Yeah, exactly. That's a panic.
Yes. So I'm the host of Power Conversations on a Monday and Wednesday from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. And this morning, our Power Conversation guest is Nigel Bagwatsaran. Nigel, am I pronouncing your name properly?
Hi, good morning to the entire team. Yes, you are, Ms. Demming.
You can call me Dennise, please.
Sure, I will.
So Nigel Bagwatsaran, and it's the first time I've heard that surname, which is why, it's not, I'm getting comfortable with it. We're going to be talking about project management, and please, to our listeners, reach out to us on the chat or call us on 222-TALK. That's 222-8255. If you're in the US or Canada, it's toll free 866-525-1099. That's 866-525-1099. Or you can WhatsApp us on 868-318-1021. That's 868-318-1021. Nigel, tell me, who are you?
I am, as you indicated, I am Nigel Bagwatsaran. I'm the senior lecturer in project management at Cipriani College of Labor and Cooperative Studies. I'm also the dean for project management at the college. I have been at the college since 2005, and it has been a rewarding stay at the college, both personally and professionally. I'm very thankful to be here this morning. Thanks for reaching out, Dennise.
No, I reached out because I was so excited by the theme project management. And that's because I have my own kind of negative views that we're not do a very good job of project management in our country. So I was really excited to see that that's what you were going to do. So tell me, before we get to project management, how did you get to where you are?
Well, it's actually very exciting that you mentioned the perception of field projects in Trinidad and Tobago. This month, November 2024, is actually International Project Management Month. The Day of International Project Management was on the 7th of November 2024. Yeah, so it's very fitting that we are having this conversation still within the month of November, just 30 days shy away from Christmas. Back to the question of how did I get to where I'm today? I think a lot of persistence, right? Persistence, a dedication, a passion for project management, unwavering parental support, meeting good people over the years, right? And unwavering support from God Almighty. But I think persistence, a passion for project management, a results-based frame of doing things. Everything that we do at this particular point in time requires, an emphasis on results and targets. The economy would have changed from about 15 years ago from a process-based way of doing things. Now we are being tasked with particular results and targets. And this is the headspace at this particular point in time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What are your comments about project management in our country? Do you think it's scientific? Do you think it's an expectation? Or do you think that people just say, all right, we're doing the project, so we're doing it?
I think project management in the country at this point in time has gotten an increased priority and increased emphasis as we enter that results-based way of doing things. There are many dimensions of that loaded question, Dennise. But in recent times, we can see when we look at public sector projects, private sector projects, we are seeing some gaps, some pitfalls. Whilst we are seeing very successful projects across the spectrum, I think it has, grown in emphasis, right? You can see many projects before us. At this particular point in time, we are seeing the restructuring of WASA in terms of the public sector, right? We are seeing the construction of the Tobago Airport, the Point Port. So all these are mega projects that we can see. Too often when we think of project management, we think of it being solely on the construction sector. But simply erecting your Christmas tree around this time, or refurbishing your home, right? Or repairing the sinkhole in Grand Bazaar about 6 weeks ago, right? Or repairing a broken traffic light, right? Or these projects are everywhere. So every day, whether consciously or subconsciously, we live and breathe project management. So it's not only at the public level, but it starts with individually what we do in our home environment and how does that influence the community environment and then towards the national agenda.
Nigel, I am so happy with what you've just said because I've worked in event planning for many, many, many years. I don't do that anymore. But to me, for you to have a successful event, you had to start with a concept and something on paper with some deadlines.
Yes.
If you don't do that, it just will not happen. And my current experience is oftentimes when I have conversations with younger people, I ask, so, okay, where can I see how the project management has been outlined and so on? I don't get it. They say, but yeah, we know what we're doing.
Yes. I hear you. Sometimes in Trinidad and Tobago, we have the expression, well, we have an idea. We did this already. We can simply YouTube it. Let's try and wing it. Project management, overturns that conception. And you are right. It starts with an idea. Project management starts with an idea for creativity, for innovation. It could be hosting an event, launching a new product, repairing a sinkhole, as I said. Erecting a skyscraper, right? So it starts with an idea. It's an idea for creativity, and it pulls, information and from different knowledge areas. So once you have that idea, you start the planning phase. Yeah. Now, I have this notion that if you spend 80% of the time on proper planning of your project, the project will be executed, right? easier. 20% of the effort is required on execution if you take 80% of the effort and time on planning. Now, there are some wild cards, Dennise. There's the environment, right? The environment is changing around us as we speak. Yeah, the environment is changing around us. We are in this time of economic constraints at this particular point in time. 15 years ago, the average price of oil was 140 USD, right? But now the average price of oil is about 67 USD. So now we have to be creative and really maximize our resources and achieve more with less. And this is where project management comes in the national space, right? How can we be creative, right? How can we pull people together and pull capacity together and bring ideas together, engage in the conflict and engage in a disruptive innovation to really achieve the outcome. And this outcome may be a tangible good, right? Or it might be an intangible good. What about the NGO projects, the projects towards social capital and human development? What about those types of projects? So there's so much I would like to say, but then is 1 hour is not enough.
No, I think 1 hour, we can do a whole lot in this 1 hour.
Yes.
There are so many projects that I would like to see transparency being implemented so that citizens can see where the project is, what the outcomes are, what are the key performance indicators. I am not seeing that anywhere. Are you?
Yes, so many of these projects, are national-based projects, and they are within, the public sector realm and, government realm. And but we can get bits and pieces from the media and whatever reports are available. I would say, yes, the public, there's a need to know, right, as well as, understand the progress of these particular projects. What are the KPIs? Right? Because, many of these projects are citizen development projects. They are projects in the public sector domain. So I do agree with you. There are particular channels that we can access, such information. But it's very useful because, we are impacted by these particular outcomes on a daily basis. Yeah.
But we're not, I'm not aware of where I can go to see, for example,
yes.
I don't know where I can go to see what is the project management approach to Carnival 2025.
Yes, it was recently launched. I think last week I saw it on the media, right, by the chairman of the NCC, right? So it was recently launched. But I do agree with you. Many of these mega events, require a project management approach. Sometimes, in organizations, you have your project managers, your project officers, and they will obviously craft this approach. Sometimes it needs to be made more public, probably on the company's website or the event organizer's website, and be made more, generally disseminated. So, there's a viewing, so we can understand that if there's a gap or limitation, or if the project led to, let's say, a course overrun or a schedule overrun, so to speak, we can understand what were the underlying reasons. If the project didn't achieve its mandate, what were the underlying reasons? So I do hear you.
That I'm not seeing anything that makes me feel as if we have transformed to a project management approach. What I'm seeing is the continued thing of, okay, we launch it then, and well, when Carnival is, so it will work itself out. It does not.
Yes.
Yes. It's about
sometimes there are many variables that play in terms of sponsorship. Based on the budgets available, you can only determine what can really be done in terms of the objectives, in terms of the scope. You might want to host about 5 events, but realistically, when the budget comes in, you can only host about 3 events or 1 event, as the case may be. I think we live in a space of stakeholder leveraging, leveraging private sector and the public sector for resources based on the goodwill of people and total resources, in this particular time. And this is where that creative mindset, really comes in. How can we achieve more with less? How can we bring capacity? How can we pull ideas together to really get it done? But we have seen in the past, 5 to 10 years that project management is a key tool in the toolbox of leaders and managers. So whereas we would have said, in the past, A leader needs to have, conflict resolution skills, managerial skills, visionary skills, charismatic skills. Now we are seeing that project management is an essential toolkit. So you find that where leaders go and managers go, they accompany their project managers often accompany these guys in these particular spaces. And I can see it when I look at government ministers and so on media. I often see their project managers alongside the ministers, because we can see that project managers are tasked, right, with delivering on a particular outcome, whether it is a social good, right, or a economic good, as the case may be. So it is infiltrating what we do and how we do it. And we do have a lot of capacity right here in TNT in terms of project management. We do have a lot of capacity. It is only on Friday night, the college hosted a seminar with Dr. Ishmael Khan, who's a lead international project management practitioner, also the chairman of NGC. And we came to the realization that we have a lot of capacity in project management in the region, and is slowly becoming, or if not already, a resource that we can export. A resource that we can export. So whilst we have failed projects, whilst we have projects that may not meet its target, right? Yes, we do have some very successful projects. I know I'm an optimist, so Dennise.
I want to suggest to you that I'm also an optimist. I look forward. I'm sure that our country will do well. I mean, the world has done well and so on. I am totally an optimist, but I'm also realistic.
Yes.
And I love what you're saying. We had, we can even export it. And I am saying to myself, if I lived in another country, what would I look at in Trinidad to say, well, okay, that is evidence that they do excellent work at project management? What are some things I could look at for me to say that?
Okay, well, let me just add another dimension, right? 30 years ago, we did not have climate change. We did not have AI disruption. Good. We didn't have blockchain technology or cryptocurrency, right? We did not have these socio-economic challenges that we are faced with at this particular point in time. Now geopolitical wars are coming our neck of the woods. So the operating space would have changed dramatically, right, over the past 30 years. Yeah. So you would find that countries, public sector entities, private sector corporations heading into that project management direction. So how would you know they are practicing high quality project management? Back to the question of Dennise. They will emphasize a strong project plan, but even before a strong project plan, they will go about defining the value. What is the value of the project and how does it contribute towards that national agenda? That's important, right? That is important. Whether it is as I said, whether it is a social good or economic good or a citizen utility good, how does it contribute to the national agenda? But too often we are constrained by funding, right? Limited constraints, right? High constraints. So, this is what, really impacts the delivery of those projects. So we have to define value. That's paramount, right? Then there will be a strong project planning approach, a clear project plan, a project execution framework, which we now use to execute and monitor the project to ensure that the project is delivering as expected. Not only on course, right, expected course, but what about value? Is it delivering on the value that was intended, that was envisaged at the very beginning of the project, right? And there will be a strong monitoring framework. And sometimes in the monitoring framework as well, we realize that the targets are not being realized. So how do we take corrective action? But at the same time, the operating environment, right, is changing. There might be resistant stakeholders and so who might come into the fray at that particular point in time. And this can really, set back the project. It can impede the project from delivering. And this is where we, the public, now get frustrated because we are seeing funds allocated, right? We are seeing people and resources behind something, but we are not seeing the intended value by the intended date, right? And what we say is a waste of taxpayers' dollars. But there are a lot of hidden variables at play.
Well, Nigel, I would challenge you by saying
Yes.
I'm not aware of what our national goal is, so that I can't even work through if this is a national goal, this is where we are. Because you talked about the value system in terms of project management, and it begins with what that dream is. What do you think is Trinidad and Tobago's dream?
Well, we have our national goals are pretty much enshrined in our National Development Policy Vision 2030, right? So in every particular sector, whether public service, private service, medicine, education, health, infrastructure, we do have our national agenda towards, in these particular areas. So every year now, the government sort of launches a business plan, a results-based framework through the particular ministries now towards, meeting, some of the projects enshrined in that national agenda. In terms of the dream national goal, empowered society for the 21st century. That's how I look at it. I empowered a society that's, provides social justice for all. Yeah, that should be, our common agenda. Whilst we can say that we are guided by the United Nations, sustainable developmental goals, we have to understand our context here in Trinidad and Tobago, right? And we should move towards an empowered society, a society that's accountable for their actions as well too, and that contributes towards the national good. That's important.
Yeah. Nigel, it's really good of you to bring up that UN developmental goals.
Yes.
17 of them. And unfortunately, Trinidad is not doing well on those goals. When the UN does its annual report, we have not been doing well. So if you had a miracle and you could transform one thing, what would you do just to make sure that project management becomes something that we use on an ongoing basis?
I think there's a need for the recognition of the value potential of project management. Yes, we have recognized it to some extent. I think there's a need for increased realization of the potential of project management. Whilst we have training and capacity and human capital in the area, I think some higher spaces, when I say spaces, like some leaders and managers may have that process way of doing things, but in this particular space, we have to move towards targets and results. We should understand that we have an organization. What are the particular projects that are geared towards the strategic priorities of the organization? Now, the environment may cause some of these projects to shift in priority, right, as well as accelerate in priority. So COVID-19 would have disrupted a lot of physical infrastructure sort of projects that would have morphed, society towards moving towards online business models, online shopping, e-commerce platforms, and that sort of thing. So there's a need for increased realization. There's a need to really link the project to the strategic priority of the business. Yeah. Too often, we want many things done at the same point in time, but there are only so few people, there are only so much resources, there's only so much capacity available to do it. Yeah, and that's the harsh reality. Whilst you might be ambitious, right, and advocate for change, when you hit the ground running and you realize the forces at play, right, sometimes it might involve legislative agenda. Right, you have to deal with the ethics of the situation as well, the resource constraint. Look at the people and the stakeholders before you and what could be realistically done, as well as always benchmark what you are doing towards standards of good practice. Not necessarily internationally, might be standards of good practice right here in Trinidad and Tobago and regionally. Too often we think about international standards of good practice, but there are standards of good practice right here locally and within the region.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So let's go back a little to the seminar that you all had. Yeah. What was the goal of that seminar? Why did you do it?
But the goal of the seminar is really to highlight International Project Management Month, right, and actual day, as well as to share some light on the importance of project management within TNT, as well as highlight some of the pitfalls, gaps where we might not be performing as we should, and brainstorm some of the solutions, that we can possibly pursue to improve on those limitations. Yeah.
And having done that, is there a solution that you would want to share with us that you all brainstormed about?
A particular solution, there are so many. There are so many solutions. I think firstly we need to plan. I think definitely we need to go back to the drawing board and plan, engage in the documentation, understand why there's a need for this trigger. What is this project or this outcome trying to solve? What problem are we trying to solve? Is it a project that we are pursuing that somebody had a grand idea one Monday morning? Or is this project towards, a particular good for the benefit and empowerment of people? Right? So we need to, justify the project, establish the triggers. What is the problem to be solved? Right? What are the enablers of the project and plan? Do a proper project planning, proper justification. Sometimes we rush into project management and into execution, but we realize we hit the stumbling block. We realize that this raw material is not available, or this person is not available, all right? Or we need legislative approval for this particular project, or people are simply not ethical in project execution. So I think we need to plan and we need to risk manage. There's an adage that says that the best project managers are risk managers. See the risk in everything. See the risk in everything. Like this morning, I got up at 5 o'clock this morning, making sure my internet connection was working well. I checked downstairs connection, I checked upstairs, I look at the lighting, and so I have a secondary device here. I have I paid my TST, my bill, and so to make sure that I have the connection for this interview this morning. So the best project managers are risk managers.
You've just triggered my mind with something else that I have experienced. I mean,
Yeah.
I do all of that. I pay the bill, I check the internet and so on. And oftentimes I end up in trouble on this session because it's just unstable. But I'm very thankful today. It seems to be working very well. So hopefully it will continue.
Yes, it will rally through. It will rally through. I'm
It
sure.
will rally through. So coming back to Cipriani Labour College and teaching project management, is that a course? Is that what is that? Is that a diploma? What is that?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked. So at Cipriani College, we are the only institution to offer a bachelor's degree in project management. Right, so our programs are pretty much layered. Students can access a certificate, a diploma, straight up to a bachelor's degree in project management. Over the past 16 years of the program, we would have produced over 4,000 project managers who occupy spaces.
Nigel, hold a minute. Hold on. Hold on. What 1,000 project managers did you say you would have produced?
Over 4,000 project managers. Over 4,000, and they occupy public sector spaces as well as private sector spaces. At this point in time in our bachelor's degree program, we have 137 students enrolled for this 2024 academic year in our bachelor's degree in project management. Yeah, and the degree is accredited by ACTT as well too.
Okay, so Nigel, here's my concern. We produced 4,000 of them in 15 years?
Yes.
How is it that Dennise, I'm not seeing the impact of that in the development of the country? Because this is only 1.3 million people.
Yes.
And if you have that many people who understand, who have been certified in project management, why is it we're not having a better set of systems, structures, and processes?
Dennise, you actually some very difficult questions. I go think I had my breakfast this morning.
And Nigel, my thinking behind those questions is not to put you in trouble. It's really for us to open up the conversation throughout the country.
Yep. I appreciate those questions because I think these are the types of questions. I think with conflict, there's compromise and there's creativity. So this is why, I always believe in having these difficult conversations. I think as a society, we should have them because it's only through these sort of conversations, solutions can be forged and everyone can adjust their expectations and know what can be achieved and what cannot be achieved in a particular moment. I think we are seeing some development if we look at the private sector. Well, the private sector, they have their own ambitions, right? They have their own particular ambitions based on their shareholders, etc. But in the public sector, there's a lot of development taking place, right, in various aspects of the economy, right? Some of them are intangible, so the general public may not see those particular developments. What we may see is the infrastructure type of developments, but there are developments taking place in the health, in the construction sector, right, in the educational sector, right, at this particular point in time. So there is development, but at the same time, the environment is changing. There are problems around us. There's COVID-19, there's climate change, there's AI disruption, and many of these problems have different dimensions. They have a political dimension, so you want to address the elephant in the room, right? There's a political dimension. There's an economic dimension, a legislative dimension, but there's also ethics, accountability, right? Dimensions as well too. But there's development taking place, but not at the pace that we, the public, may expect those development to take place. But small mercies.
And I'm so happy to hear you say that, because if things happen, on a small scale, there's a good chance that it will expand and it will develop and eventually it will work its way out.
Yeah.
So that it's excellent. And I'm really happy to hear that we have 4,000 certified persons in project management, because now we can make some other kinds of requests from them.
Yes. Of course, and I will tell you, everything that we do it in form of our project. So about 2 months ago, we launched our SIP Scares program for students who were not successful in Maths and English with the CSEC recent examination results that were released. We couched a particular project called SIP Scares in partnership with the MyDNS, right, to really retool over 300 students on Maths, English, and we are providing them with career pathways in project management and human resource management. So that's a particular project there aimed towards a social good. So, so those are, projects that unless you don't go on the website and access the Facebook ads and so where the project was communicated, the general public may not know. So sometimes, we have to look beyond the print media. We have to look at social media, right? Go to the particular Ministry of Public Administration, go to the websites and so social media to access what is taking place. Yeah.
And what was the thinking behind this project?
The thinking behind this project is really to offer a device to retool these particular students, this at-risk group, right? In society, students at that particular level not being successful. There are so many pathways that they can take, right? And it's necessary that we retool these guys for Maths, English, and other CSEC subjects, as well as provide them with a career pathway so that they can contribute meaningfully towards society. Yep, and the program is going quite well, right? In the project management pathway alone, there are 67 students. In the occupational safety and health pathway, there are over 120 students who have subscribed to the opportunity. Yeah, so there's a great potential. So I think, Dennise, whilst we might lament and criticize adversity, we have to see the opportunity as a people in adversity. Spot the opportunity, right, and retool and reflect on our feet to get by. And this is what we need to do. And this is where project management comes in, this results-based approach. You will see everything as a project.
Yes, everything is a project. I do consulting, and I often say to clients, even your relationship is a project.
Yes. Yes.
And a lot of people don't like when I say that, because I'm almost saying, where's the document? What are the delivery times? What are the risks? When are we going to achieve this? And it's a relationship.
Yes.
And if you don't do that, relationships will not work.
Yeah, I agree with you there. And sometimes I get a bit, annoyed when the documentation is not right. So where's the justification and the plan for this document? Where are the KPIs? Where are the business drivers? Good. I always have this old school belief: what is written could be measured. It may not get done right away, but what is written could be measured. So I look at the explicit documentation, right? Let's look at the audits, and so what were the lessons learned from the previous project. Let's try not to repeat those mistakes in this particular project. So sometimes you enter a project environment or space and the documentation is not right. Good. The stakeholders have not been identified, important stakeholders. You have not, solicited their particular views, right? To drill down on the project scope and what the project should achieve. So, these are some of the issues, that can really upset the process. So, we often like to say in Trinidad and Tobago that we are good at planning, but we are not so good at implementation. That is often the quip.
And project management will transform that.
Yes.
We're good at planning, but we're not good at implementation. Project management is critical for you to engage in the implementation strategy.
Yes.
And this is just a thing that I look at, and it's a strange thing that I look at. I look at our doubles vendors. And I think our doubles vendors have systems, structures, and processes.
Yeah.
And I think that if we can do it for doubles vendors, I can't see why it can't be done for other things. What's your response to that?
Yes. When you have a passion towards an idea and you have capacity and training in it, you tend to devise a very scientific, mechanical way of doing it. And we can definitely see that in the fast food industry. What about the corn soup vendors? What about the gyro vendors, the doubles vendors? They tend to develop a scientific way. And this is where project management can help, can really add to that process and systems and strategy overall. I think once we have a strategy, either it could be a roti shop vendor, if it could be a small micro enterprise where a pepper sauce producer or an ice cream producer, a small ice cream producer in Trinidad and Tobago. Once you have a clear strategy, you now determine what are the tactics and the strategies now you are going to use to implement your overarching strategy. Once you determine your strategy, your way forward, good, you drill on your tactics, you set up your metrics and so to gauge the success of the business. And sometimes with projects, we tend to go a bit too broad. We tend to be overly ambitious, Dennise. We want this, right? We tend to go overly ambitious. Sometimes the brainstorming and the high-level blue sky ideas can get into the document. We have to be, very pragmatic and practical. What could be achieved with the resources and the people around us. Yeah, and too often we don't do that.
Yeah.
But,
So
sorry.
If you're engaged in a project, who do you report to so that somebody else ensures that you're accountable?
Well, definitely you report to the project sponsor, right? You project sponsor. You may have to report to a project governance board. In the public service, you have to a public sector agency. You report to the subcommittees, of the board of directors. Report to the board of directors, ultimately the chairman. Right, and then you have to justify, you have to indicate what you have done and why you did it and why you were not able to achieve your particular targets. Eventually you have to report to Corporation Sole, Ministry of Finance, right, because they are the funders of these public sector projects. So there's a clear line of accountability. Yeah, because you are entrusted with public sector funds, scarce funds.
And you have introduced the public sector and the Minister of Finance, and you've introduced that.
Just in passing.
Is that a number of our state enterprises are losing money? What is that saying about project management and project implementation?
Yeah, I think it's there's something that I will not attempt to defend, Dennise. So I think and a lot of state enterprises would have lost some subventions that would have injected, and they would have deviated somewhat, right, from their objectives and their mission and their vision and so. But I also think in recent times there's a drive towards higher accountability and results-based management. A drive towards accountability and results-based management to really define the value. What have we achieved? What is not working? What has not been working well? Right? What could be done at this point in time to achieve our particular targets, right? And hold people to account. What has led to a lot of gaps is some ethical dilemmas as well. Some bias-based decisions that would have really put some of these projects in jeopardy. But I think in the recent times there's a movement towards higher accountability, and this is the headspace.
Yes.
Yep.
This is the fourth time you've used the word ethical.
Yes.
Can you tell me what is it that is in your mind when you talk about that ethical responsibilities?
Ethical responsibility simply means doing what is right. Do not make decisions in a project that can benefit one particular stakeholder or could benefit yourself. And ethics and accountability go hand in hand. You are accountable, right, to the market, to the powers that be, the project sponsors, right, the immediate service providers for project delivery. Sometimes in the environment we see that biased decisions are made and so for a particular entity, right? Sometimes project managers themselves are guilty. So thankfully we have the procurement legislation and so that really enshrines the values of transparency and higher accountability for government funds. Yeah, so we see it even in private sector projects as well too. I know I'm just introducing these controversial topics and so Dennise.
Well, I will challenge you with regard to the procurement legislation, because the procurement legislation has so many exceptions that it is now, to my mind, useless.
Okay, I don't. No, I don't think so at all. But, I think we are in the teething stages of the procurement legislation. I think there's a need for greater cultural change management towards getting public sector entities to respond to the legislation, and it's a work in progress, right? In Trinidad and Tobago, we have typically in the past we had a process-based culture. Right now we have to move towards a culture of transparency, value for money, right, as well as higher accountability. So I think we are in the teaching stages. Whilst we have some institutions that are not doing what they should do, whilst we have some particular biases, and so it's all about trying to identify those particular scenarios and treating with it in the way that it should be treated with. Yeah.
Okay, here's something that has popped into my mind, and that is that we tend to stop projects once there's a change in government. How could we prevent that? I know it is a hard question, but I'll tell you what my thoughts are.
Yes.
My thoughts are that if we have project management implemented, then that should not be in any way controlled by a change in government, because it is the project, and it is the project for the nation. It is not the project for whoever the government is or the minister is.
Yes, I agree with you. If you look at the Singapore model, they have an overall strategy, right? And regardless of the government that comes into place, every government has to, deliver on their own program towards the particular strategy. Yes, there are cases where government shifts from hand to hand. There might be some shelving of previous projects, but a lot of plenty starts of new projects, and that can really, disrupt the flow of funds, right? And we ask, where's the value for money? Right, but at the same time, many projects, are left in continuity, right? But at many times, saying what projects to venture in and what projects to stop, whilst we may have our business case analysis and so that says that, hey, we should continue, we should stop, we must admit that many of these decisions are subjective, At the same time, we have to recognize the prevailing environment. Circumstances do change. In 2019, December, January 2020, we said no, God is a Trini and COVID-19 wouldn't reach us. And look what happened in March, March 2020. Good. Look, right now we are facing AI disruption. Now we have to think about climate change and everything that we do. So thank you for saving me the commute to Port of Spain this morning. And and burning natural gas and stuff like that. Now we are using these online tools, all right? So we have to think about climate change and what we do and how we do it. Now geopolitical wars, right? A change in government in the US. How does that impact Trinidad and Tobago? So we always have to monitor as a people, right, as project managers, right, the macro environment to determine what is practical and what could be done.
Yes. But Nigel, my view is that we're not really transforming to work from home. So we're not using the technology as best as we can. When you think of how much money is lost in our poor transportation system, we ought to have a project that will transform the way we travel.
I think so, definitely. I know Ministry of Labor is working on their remote working policy. I think it's in draft mode or still being drafted. We should always benchmark, to Denmark and Sweden on what they are doing. It may work, for particular sectors. It may not work for other sectors. But it requires a shift in mentality as a people too, that if you're working from home, right, you have to account, for the use of your time. And this is why, public and private sector employers are going towards this results-based way of working. So if I give you a laptop, Dennise, to work from home, there must be software in the laptop that tracks what you do on whether you are able to meet your targets for the particular day. So, but I do think in Trinidad and Tobago, outside of any policy, that employers are slowly entertaining the idea of remote working, right? Remote working, and they are seeing the results of that offering the employees that particular flexibility. So whilst you engage staff, you train and you empower, right? Eventually, you give them these targets and you hold them to account and you do the whole change management. So, for example, in my job, I have to do a lot of, I have to meet my stakeholder targets. So thankfully, you reached out to me and I was able to meet one of my stakeholder targets for the year 2024, right? So thankfully, so I met my target. I have, 2 to 3 stakeholder targets that I have to, really, advocate project management brand of the college, and quite easily, you feel free to call me anytime.
Yes. I just want to make it clear that I reached out to you simply because I felt that this was such a brilliant seminar that you all were doing, because as far as I'm concerned, project management is one of our solutions.
Yes.
And the information about 4,000 is fantastic. But what challenges do you see that project managers will have in our country?
Well, we can go back to the textbook, gaps of say lack of funds, poor leadership and poor management. But I think for me, a major problem in the national space is emotional intelligence, right? I think if we do not have the emotional intelligence to engage in the conflict, right, and agree to disagree, right, in a managed manner, right, that will not generate the type of ideas and solutions, right, that we need to solve our problems. If we look at our particular problem, school violence, can we call that as a project? That's a project for me. Can we reduce bullying in schools? That's a particular project for me, right? How do we reduce traffic congestion into Port of Spain, right? How do we engage in our road repair? That's a particular project. So we can see these projects around us. How could we have, managed the oil spill in Tobago, right? We could have seen that as a particular project, right? So these projects are around us everywhere, right? How do we have to be able to identify that these are projects, these are clear results, define the results, what we would like to achieve, right? And put resources and train project managers behind it to achieve.
Okay. You talked about emotional intelligence. The person on the maxi would be asking, what do you mean by that?
Emotional intelligence really speaks to, how do we control our emotions, right? Our speech, our thoughts when receiving feedback, especially alternative feedback, as well as how do we provide feedback to people. So we must recognize, we must read the room, we must understand the moment, be socially aware, right, of how you are communicating with, right, understand their perceptions, right, their stereotype agendas, and so, and be, very tactful in terms of how do we steer a conversation to an outcome, right, to the outcome that you want, right? Yes, you are going to engage in the conflict. There's going to be a clash of personalities, but how do we manage emotions? An important part of communication, emotional intelligence, is just listening. Okay? Just listening. So then you might disagree with me, right? But I don't have to respond to it, right? I don't have to respond to it. I choose not to respond to it. I will respond at a later point in time, right? Or let's sit and say, Dennise, I can take up before. Well, if you and I work in Dennise and I don't like something, I just said, no problem. Let's disagree in the meeting. And so I give you a tap on your shoulder after the meeting and say, Dennise, we good, but we are professionals, right? We have alternative thoughts. The agenda is towards the goal of the institution or the goal of the entity that we are working for. So we have to, disquiet our and suppress, our individual beliefs to advance the interests of the entity, and that is most important.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you raise the issue of emotional intelligence when we're talking about project management, because that emotional intelligence is our ability to understand, to use, and to manage our own emotions. And my observation of our country is that we seem to be moving away from managing our emotions, and we seem to be moving towards a lot of aggression, and that would not help with project management. So as we're almost done, and we just have a few more minutes, about 10 more minutes, how can we create a new generation of project managers who can tackle our island's unique challenges?
That's an excellent question, Dennise. I think we have to install a culture of project management through training at the grassroots level, right? I think it should be within the secondary school curriculum, right? It should be, definitely in the tertiary level curriculum. So whether you have a student doing cultural studies or music studies, right, or pharmacy studies at Mount Hope, right, there needs to be a general education course on project management, right? Because project management ties with our 21st century skills for collaboration, communication, creativity, and innovation. If we are not creative and innovative as a society, we're going to be left behind, right? If we are not creative and innovative as a society. Project management, right, is that essential tool, right? For me, project management is the eighth wonder of the world. Don't ask me what are your first 7 wonders, but it's the eighth wonder of the world, right? And it needs to be factored into what we do and how we do it. It's an essential tool. So, definitely training, empowerment, right, and the realization of what it could achieve, learning from the mistakes of, projects that didn't work out well, right, and documenting those lessons learned, and moving forward. So I think it's a realization of the direction and the headspace and what we need to achieve.
Yeah. And from my head, just going to secondary school is a project. And a student should be able to take that and say, this is the project, this is the outcome I want, and this is the strategy, and these are the tactics. If they took that approach to going to school, things would be different.
Yeah, I quite agree. I quite agree. I think in 2023 graduation at the college, when I had to confer the degree titles onto project management students, my last 2 words were project delivered. As I left the podium and returned to my chair on the stage, I told the graduates, 365 students graduated in 2023 at the college. I told the students project delivered. So in that way, they can see that their studies, right, is a project. You started a degree in year 1, and at the end of 3 years, at the end of 4 years, now you have graduated, you have been bestowed with your title, right? Bachelor's degree in project management, project delivered. So I'm glad you mentioned that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you said at the very beginning, you see relationships as a project. Yes, there are turns and twists and so in a relationship, not so, right?
Yes.
And you can see that as a project. You have, but you have to manage that that project towards the cause to achieve the end result.
So as we come to an end, tell me, what would you like the person on the maxi to take away from this conversation?
From this conversation, I think the value add of project management, seeing things as a results-based manner, right? If you're working, if you are doing a project around the house, if you are organizing a Christmas charity in the month of December in the community, if you are refurbishing the savannah or the basketball court, right? All these are projects before us. Project management is that tool that brings ideas and people and disciplines together, right, to get the job done, right? Project management is a tool that welcomes differences of opinion, adversity, and conflict to get a palatable solution to everyone. It is a key tool. It is simply the drive, the thinking and the mindset that we should all have at this point in time. That will lead to not only personal efficiency and personal effectiveness, but will contribute meaningfully towards community development.
Yes, yes. And my takeaway is that 4,000 graduates who are project management certified. What message would you send to them? There are 4,000 of them out there.
So my message to our 4,000 graduates: continue doing what you are doing, continue delivering on the projects that you have been trained for, right? Continuing empowering others as you go along, and continue meaningfully towards the national agenda.
Lovely. And here's my final question to you. What is the project management approach that Cipriani Labour College has? Where you're going, how you're getting there, what's the project management?
Our project management approach is to live true to our vision and mission, which is the empowering of people. Yeah, so we have a project management approach towards that spirit of empowering people within our formula of social justice, providing equity of opportunity to all. That's our number one drive and modus operandi.
And again, you keep prompting me to ask you some other questions. What do you mean about social justice? Explain that to the person in the maxi.
Right, social justice is that a thinking space, that mindset towards providing opportunity, right, to those who would think that they are disadvantaged and to those who are disadvantaged. It can be those who have learning disabilities, those who physical disabilities, those who simply don't have opportunity, right? Those who simply don't have opportunity. You don't have a laptop, you can't access online classes, you may have not done well at CSEC. All these are particular at-risk groups, or what we say marginalized groups, right? Social justice is that thinking space and that framework to provide opportunity, right, to those who might be less advantaged.
So when we're talking about social justice, we're not just talking about violence or anything like that. We're talking about equality economically, politically, and socially.
Yes.
We all need to have the same rights and opportunities to add value to our country.
Yeah.
Thank you ever so much. And what's your last message? Goodbye.
My last message, goodbye. Have a productive day, everyone. Thanks for the opportunity to the Power 102 team. Thanks to Dennise, right, and the entire team. And let's start thinking what we do and how we do it, right, individually in our family space, our community spaces, and towards national development and a project management results-based approach to empower people, see the good, right, good within that spirit of social justice.
Thank you ever so much, Nigel Bagwatsaran. Thank you for being here this morning, and I look forward to the continuation of project management as it stimulates our economy and makes us do better. Thank you very much.
Very welcome, Dennise, and the entire team. Thank you for having me.
Okay then, goodbye.
Goodbye.